My life experience says you have to test it right before it's done again.
You don't have to do that.
Congratulations, Rob.
Sometimes it's not.
You have a bright future to look forward to, a lot of fun.
I'm excited. Be more excited when it's certified.
Yeah, it's kind of the hurry up and wait. Gotta be close, by the same.
Good morning, everybody. It is 10 o'clock on Wednesday, June 6th. Will you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Heinz Planning Commission meeting last night in the room was fairly full. And it kind of nice to chills to hear everybody in the room do the pledge because the whole room just kind of echoed with it. It was kinda cool. All right, good morning, everybody. We'll get rolling here. We've already taken care of, we're working on accounts payable and voucher review. Next topic is late items. I don't have anything. If we're gonna put that energy resilience thing on the next agenda, I don't have anything for any late items.
I don't either. Yeah.
But ask the gentleman to remove your hats, please.
Yeah, with the Wolf Committee, just to make sure everybody's aware, we did have an additional resignation due to someone moving. I didn't look through the packet. to see if
It
that-
is in the
It's
packet.
That's all in there.
Somewhere.
Okay, and then we had, one person submit a letter of interest. And so as long as that's all under item G, 7G. That was my only thing, I wanted to make sure it was.
Okay.
Everybody admitted here. All right, so no late items then. Agenda approval for today's agenda.
I move to approve today's Harney County Court meeting agenda.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded to approve today's June 6th agenda. Any further discussion? In hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. Minutes, we have two sets of minutes. So first one is county court session minutes from May 16th.
I move to approve Harney County Court meeting minutes from May 16th, 2024.
second,
Motion's been made and seconded to approve county court session minutes from May 16th, 2024. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. The next was for our special session on May 20th, minutes.
I move to approve the Harney County Court meeting minutes for the special session on May 20th, 2024.
second,
Motion's been made and seconded to approve county court special session minutes from May 20th. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. And that brings us opportunity for public comment. Yes, ma'am, please state your name and.
Oh, Barb Kennedy, and I just want to congratulate Rob Frank on the election results. And I appreciate your serious expression you had this morning. I know you'll be a good team player.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right. Old business. We had talked previously in the special session about potential outsourcing of payroll. Executive Assistant York looked into that and a couple of different vendors. And the total approximate is gonna be around 80,000 per year based on our number of employees and payroll. That would be just for payroll. Moving forward with, and I think we already approved in the budget for HR, finance, treasurer, assistant, that would be backup for that. But that position will do more than just payroll, so I think it's it's more advantageous to have somebody on site doing it than that's my view, so.
No, I think we kind of had two options, and this was one of the two options we pursued, trying to get actual staff here for backup instead of this option.
But I appreciate, Executive Assistant York and how she's able to make a lot of calls and do some research for us.
Next was the initial inquiry for having a fiscal analysis conducted. I think there's some more calls, some more vendors that you're gonna call on that, but the initial findings, do you have any information for that?
No one has got back to me yet I asked kind of for a rough estimate because depending on how much that's gonna be is going to dictate the process for whether we need to submit in the paper notices for bids and that kind of thing. So I needed to get that number first. And then depending on that, I need some other information to continue with that.
And I would suggest that perhaps we schedule a county court work session to just talk about what we really want in this analysis and what we'd have to do in-house to prepare for someone to do their, that kind of thing, and have Bob, we can have the treasurer here as well, and just kind of talk about what it is, because Holly and I had a conversation yesterday, and I didn't have the answers for her, because we need to talk about it sometime.
Well, and some of those entities might have kind of some outlines that they could share with us, as they look at giving us a quote, then they would also
Right,
have kind of
maybe.
what would be expected on our end potentially to share with us.
And everyone that I spoke to said that they needed to know what the mandatory services were. So I think that's gonna be a pretty difficult piece, there are county responsibilities, but which of those are mandated by the state? And then the second part is obviously the strategic plan and which direction we wanna head with that. So
Right.
like whether you're gonna support your infrastructure, whether revenue is the biggest thing, whether it's, what metric do we use to determine the biggest bang for your buck? And that's obviously up to you guys, so.
Right, I think maybe a work session, we could hammer that out, and
Yeah, did any of the, the entities that you contacted, the agencies that you contacted, did they have any kind of maybe if we could get a list of their services? And, kind of like a checkbox that we want you to do this, 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 and this, and it might kind of help us identify what roles they can play?
So Marina and Co said that they would give us essentially a menu so that we could pick which services we were interested in. And then Moss Adams said that they don't really operate that way. They do like a more comprehensive. It just depends how in-depth they want to go. So I'm waiting to that.
Are you aware of any other counties that have had a financial analysis
no, and I
done?
haven't called Lake County to see if they,
I don't think
Have
they
any of
have.
that. and after the fact, I think it takes a crisis to make you move in that direction,
Maybe I'll send out a email to county administrators
Yeah. that would
and
be
see
a
if
good
anybody's had one, and I think we do need to kind of go in with what outcomes do we want to get out of this? So,
I'm planning to at least virtually attend the AOC retreat. It's a 2-day thing. I'm not gonna go there to Salem, but I'm gonna be on the computer. Depending on the agenda, I may or may not ask.
Maybe the treasurer has some words of wisdom for us in this.
I don't know if I have words of wisdom, but
I look up and there she is.
how I kind of foresee all this taking place, in my eyes, this is just my vision, is like the first piece of this would be the strategic plan. And then with the strategic plan, we come up with the goals that the county wants to work towards. One of those goals could be a fiscal analysis. And then we create work groups. It's a whole process, and
I kind of struggled with the same thing. Which should we do first? A fiscal analysis or a strategic plan? Whereas a fiscal analysis might tell us what resources we have to identify our goals and priorities in a strategic plan. But the same way, like you just said it, I'm not sure which should come first.
yeah, ultimately it is a governing body's decision, but I just, like earlier when we had the conversation about a strategic plan, like the plan sets in motion what our goals are and creates groups of people who are working on specific goals so that, it's a group effort and we really have identified the things that are most important, like to move us forward.
Well, frankly, that would be a whole community involvement, really.
It
As a
would be.
strategic plan for the county and just the county employees, it's
So
The
like,
citizens
Yeah,
as
which is
well.
kind of where she's driving.
yeah,
for
that's
these
like,
committees.
so I've only been involved in one strategic planning session, but so I only have that experience to draw from, but the way that it worked is a group of people was brought together for the
Come on in.
organization.
You're good.
It included the board and the employees. So I foresee it would include the county court, elected officials, department heads. We had a facilitator who said, okay, come up with ideas, like what are the ideas that you have to move this organization forward? And so that group of people brainstorm ideas and then we prioritize those ideas. I mean, it's a whole strategic process. And so I feel like we need to go through that process to identify what's most important and create the work groups to then work towards all those goals. I know.
Yeah, we'll have-
I
Nobody
see
would
what
have-
you're saying, and my often saying of fiscal analysis is for the immediate and near term. Now in the next 5 years. Strategic planning, maybe it can happen at the same time, but we can't wait till the strategic planning is done to do the fiscal. We are probably heading toward having to resize our services a bit. And that, we want some professional advice by those who look at municipality budgets and can look at, it's a different thing, and they have to obviously work together, but we can have amazingly great strategic plans with no funds to do it, and all that conversation in the community, but as you know, from being involved with the budget committee meetings, we need to think things through because some things will need to be put in motion this coming year.
But I do feel like the voice of the departments who run those departments and provide those services need to be
Can that be part of the department head meetings? Standing chunk of the department head meetings that you hold? to have
Well,
that
yeah, and
throughout the year?
I agree with what you're saying as far as the strategic plan goes. We're gonna have in a full comprehensive strategic plan, we're gonna have internal goals and external goals, where we want to take the internal management and development of the county government itself, and external goals of what services to provide for the community and whatnot. And those, they're parallel, but yet they're two different processes too, internal and external with public input. I still kind of thinking that I would be a little bit more inclined to say that the fiscal analysis, which would help identify what our resources are and what of those goals we'll be able to attain or not be able to attain based on the revenues and the resources that we have. But I definitely agree that in that process of the strategic planning, that the departments all need to have a role and props. And I think for developing a plan itself, it's more than just our department head meetings.
No, thank you
You
for
know.
coming in and saying all this,
I
because
just-
there are, we need to do it all, but, we have just fresh off of the budget meetings, there's some things we gotta do here in the
Yeah.
next few months. Yeah.
Okay. That's all my.
Nope, that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Some more research to do, obviously, before we commit to a fiscal analysis. I will send out an email to the county administrators and see if anybody's done one recently, see what they focused on, how that interacted with strategic planning.
Yeah, I think that would be a key element, because I kind of agree with Joe. A lot of, since I've been on the commission, one of the goals that you brought up is the strategic plan. And I think coming fresh out of the budget, it's a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, wanting the fiscal prior to that, set the goal, because we do have a basis for what revenues we have. And there's nobody in the budget committee that doesn't have a feel for what our current revenues are. It's trying to project out, like, say, future revenues, but as we know, that's been the biggest challenge in roles of government, is to try to guess what our partners
But a healthy,
Bringing
a
that
healthy
there,
county
too.
government and budget would enable us to make progress on our strategic goals because we have enough money to contract for this or do this or invest in this, and we don't have that right now. So that's, I agree, I agree
They're
with what
so
you're saying,
close
Commissioner, I do,
together, yeah.
but, unless we just want to make all our own decisions and not do a fiscal analysis on that side, but I would like to see, without paying huge amount, I would like to get some professional, advice,
Did
objective.
any of the companies that you contacted, did they give you any kind of a ballpark estimate of any?
They need
dollar
to know
amount?
more what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I
Well,
think
it
we
could
need
be-
a work session.
It could be as simple as, a lot like our, class and comp study. Came in at $21,000, and I can, wherever we decide with whatever, we don't have to go, it's an intermediate, it's less than an intermediate procurement, really. So,
Yeah, so you can select a party to go. with.
yeah, we don't have to do a whole bunch of, procurement process for it.
Mhm.
So, okay, so, we'll move on to continue to research that.
And then once some of that information comes back in, we could schedule that work session.
Yeah, sounds good.
And this is all just a continuation of the things that they would need that you had on here. New business.
They're not in the room. Do we need to grab?
They
Yeah,
said that they were waiting on the signature, but I can go poke them.
Okay,
If not, we have plenty other.
yeah, we can move on if they're not ready. And
How long of a discussion do you envision that to become? I just didn't know if we should let him.
10, 15 minutes, it depends, and nobody else is here on that side, so at the most part.
Were they planning on attending?
I don't know, we'd let them know, but are they coming? Okay. Just for a sound check, Greg, I see you're on there, can you hear us okay?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you, thank you.
Judge, I'm just sitting here on hold till you give me the cue.
Okay. You're up
Sounds
next.
good.
So first, we got, uncontrolled or uncollected taxes and debt update from, Treasurer Zavala and Treasurer-elect Hill.
Department.
Or Department,
Tax collector.
Assessor.
Assessor, I'm sorry, I messed that all up. Come on in.
We are requesting that a business personal property account that we be allowed to write it off as uncollectible. It was for Bob Otley logging. Bob filed a return in 2024 timely. Unfortunately, his health changed and he stopped doing business in May. He then had an auction for the equipment and he died the day after the auction was completed. The equipment is gone. There's a pickup and one piece of equipment that was willed and gifted to someone and is not being used in a business capacity. So therefore, we have nothing we can lien or attach the lien to. So we're requesting that it be written off. And we tend to do this annually, close out books before fiscal year end.
Is this the only one you have at this time?
This is the only one.
Okay.
We've done it in the past for manufactured structures that have been half demolished,
Yeah, I remember
that
some
type of
of
thing.
those.
So it's something where we're just not gonna get the money out of it. And it's not cost effective to try and go after nothing.
I'll make a motion to approve court order in the matter of cancellation of personal property taxes per ORS 311.790 in the amount of $288.59 for business personal property and personal property manufactured structures. The court now being fully advised in the premises of.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve court order in the matter of cancellation of personal property taxes per ORS 311.790. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Let me just second this. This is the fifth, right?
Mhm.
What would you like us to update you on?
Whatever you have to update on.
Okay.
How's business going?
Business is good. Actually, I'm gonna let Corey deal with the collections part of it. Yeah, we are down from what we usually are, and it's because of one taxpayer.
We have one taxpayer that owes us 1.4 million right now
For 2 years.
for 2 years. So there's like 757 in this last year and then 692 from the prior year that he is into us right now. And so we have no.
There's seats up here in the front.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay, go ahead.
What's the real market value on the property? Do you
It's
know?
over $1 million because it
It's
is the
centrally-
responsibility of the Department of Revenue. They are the ones statutorily responsible for setting the value. They certify it to us each year. And,
Yeah,
I think it's a cash flow issue with regards to them. I don't know, we can't do anything more than what we have. But for the last year and this year, that's why we're down on the collections. Usually we've been 90 plus. This puts us right at 90, close to
And
it.
do you believe it is heading toward resolution?
Not at that point.
we have no teeth,
Until it comes to foreclosure
Yeah.
time.
So he can be behind 4 years before we start sending him the nasty letters and possible foreclosure, and then it goes in redemption for 2 years, and they can still redeem it back before we can even do anything. So that's just something to keep in our minds, that, so my collection is only at 89.5%, and we would be at 96% collected if this person would pay, and that would be where we want to be.
That would make us healthy.
Yes.
But
So.
which then segues
Yeah.
into, the ever popular Supreme Court decision, Hennepin, Tyler versus Hennepin County, where, we've got to wait for legislative fixes for this. So we're our hands are tied with regards to foreclosing on any properties. We'll still go through the process, but we cannot take title to them due to legislation that was passed in 24, and then they will be addressing it in the 25 session. They're having sessions right now, getting their homework done beforehand, but it will be a hot topic for the 25 legislation, because it will require statutory fixes statewide.
Short session legislation that they passed. And I haven't had a chance to really review it, and I was just waiting on rulemaking on
And
it.
Senate Bill 40,
Yeah.
4056, and that just puts everything at a stay for
Because we
deeding
don't know yet.
and the resale, because if we do, as the state has done since 1939, we would then not be in compliance with the Supreme Court decision, as are the other 35 counties. So they put the brakes on it by passing 4056, and then they will go in and do the work to get this fixed in the 25 session, hopefully.
Does
So
that,
even though we're stayed for the January 1st of 2025, the legislative session won't
Won't
end
even start until February.
until after June, so we won't even know still what we can do. So it
Until
probably will
probably
be August or
September.
that fall before we can move forward with any of that. So even though the step, their stay says January 1st, 2025, it's probably gonna be way further out than that.
So your guys' process will continue right up
Yes.
until the actual foreclosure portion of it,
Leading it.
the deeding
Yeah.
portion of it?
Once that's done, then it'll catch up and go forward from that point. with the law
But as of
changes.
right now, there's a stay up to, or at that
Yes.
point, there's a stay. Right,
Yes.
so it just puts those properties in limbo for a while until,
Yeah, we can't finalize the foreclosure proceedings. They're in redemption indefinitely until this is done. Then once that has been settled with the legislative fix, then we can take title to it. Then it will then be in the court's hands to determine how and if those properties are then resold in accordance with the new statutory laws.
okay,
We also, we've got the preliminary on the utility roll for this next year, and there's a big decrease statewide from the Department of Revenue, because they're the ones that assess that. So I think it was $1 billion statewide,
how much?
$1
A
billion
billion.
statewide. So this is gonna
It's
affect
been
our
the second year in a row, they have reduced.
and we're gonna be reducing revenues. So
It's something because budgetarily, we have to have everything in by April, May for our budgets and that office wise for the county. However, you're kind of projecting on what you're gonna get from the previous years. And if you're getting a decrease, it may not affect us as dramatically as it does other counties. That's part of, I'm assuming, one of the reasons that Lake County is in financial distress right now, because their utility bill is much higher than what ours is, because they've got Bonneville, they've got the pipelines, so their revenue from that, it's kind of like maybe they got all their eggs in a basket and then took a hit, and they don't have the income that they thought they were gonna have out of there. So it is something to keep in mind.
Yes.
And as the potential for solar fields increases in this world, it's something to look at, because 4 of the properties that are on that list of the Department of Revenue provided to us as potential reductions are on that, but they are in a pilot program where we get a set amount over a 20-year agreement with those companies. So that's not gonna affect us.
Thank you. This is,
So you might want to
no, that's another reason
look
why I want
into
the
the
fiscal
adventures on
thing.
that. So it's something to keep in mind with the budgetary process, that if that value isn't there, those taxes are not gonna be collected.
did we want to bring up the biomass?
There's one, the biomass, which deals with the heating and that. We have omitted property that was put on by the Department of Revenue in 2017. 18. And it came in after the property had already gotten exempted by statutes. But in accordance with law, we have to add it on, so there's, 14,000 worth of tax, or 16,000 worth of tax, and 14,000 of interest that's still sitting out there uncollected, because they're not gonna pay, they're exempted now, and there's nothing we can do about it.
So we're
If it is
gonna be
ever-
tracking that for,
Until there's a
I
legislative
think if I
fix,
just sell.
or they sell, because if it's legislative fix, there's nothing on the statutes, where this one is for business personal property. That can cure that. Manufactured structures, those statutes can cure that to allow us to write it off. Foreclosure is the only thing for real property. There is nothing that cures an outstanding amount on a utility. They tried to do it through the legislature, however, people walked and bills didn't get signed. So
So there's a
And it has
bill
not
that
been-
needs re-upped.
redone, because it would help with the other counties for ports, for other property that has, there's a tax liability. There's a fix now with where any sale to or from an exempt entity, we have to sign off on it stating that the taxes have been paid. This fell in prior to that law change. So if you see taxes sitting out there for 2018, they're sitting out there until there's a legislative fix that will allow us to write them off.
If
We
you
have
could make
one.
sure to give us that former bill number,
Okay, it was,
unless you know it off the top of your head.
She probably does.
it was two and three sessions ago when they were going to try and do it, but when people walked, it did not get
Was it in the rules committee, do you
Um,
know? I know it's a long time ago.
it was almost to the point where it was gonna get passed and signed, and then
It was ready.
when the senators walked, that put everything at a shutdown. And then it did not get revisited in 23 or 24 in short session. Hopefully they'll be able to do something in 25 because there are other counties. We have one, other counties have many, many more than what we do.
Do you know
And
which committee those bills typically go through there?
No, I don't at this point, but there isn't anything we can do with regards to clearing up our books per se
And our lobbyists.
without that. You know, and we,
Yeah, but.
you know, we are in much better shape than a lot of counties are. So on collections and outstanding amounts and budgetary wise, we're much better off.
Do you have any past email traffic on that?
I'd have to see
Legislation.
if I've got anything archived on it. A lot of my stuff on my computer drops off in a year, so I'll have to dig through and see if I can find anything.
Well, it was probably prior to our email change also.
Yes, it was. So, yeah, it might give me a project to go through some files, so, but, I'll see what I
Well, and
can.
if not, even on OLS, we could probably dig through and do a search
Right.
for several
and I
sessions,
know
go
that,
through there.
like Clatsop County with regards to courts, they have several where the state has taken over. And it's an exempt entity now, but however, there were taxable entities in those before that. And so I know they have an issue with it. Coos County has an issue with it. Curry County has an issue with it. So it's not just us, but there is no cure legislative for us to be able to write off any utility taxes. And we just keep going and, they're finishing up the south end, the appraisers are, and then this summer they will start appraising the city of Burns. We will send out letters to taxpayers. We found that makes life a lot easier, so when they see a white pickup with E plates on it, they don't get so wound up. And especially with COVID, we decided to put the emblems on the side, so that way it identified us as a safety feature for the appraisers out in the field and everything. So they'll do Burns for the 25 assessment year, Hines and the commercial properties for the 26 year, and then it would start going cyclical around the county like we always have, because we're one of the few counties that still deal with a 6-year cycle. Most other counties deal with the hot spots and where the population and the sales are. We don't do that. Because we stay within what we were told to do a long time ago.
Any other good news?
We're
working
going
on
to have somebody
transition.
that's going to be able to handle things very well. That was elected, so congratulations to Corey.
Yes, we're very happy.
So she'll-
So we're
she'll be
working
very
on
good.
transitioning.
Yeah.
So we're doing that, some cross training going on and
Trying to deal with
trying to
that.
get it all in so we don't have any hiccups.
Mhm, and I'm gonna hiccup my way out of here in December. So,
All right, so we will get this archived, and do you need a copy back for your records?
yes, I did.
And please keep us on the list for the truck.
Yes.
Once you collect those taxes.
Yep.
yes.
We're working on it, by golly.
There's always something. So,
That
anyway,
one guy, that one guy pays.
so,
There's always one in a crowd.
anything else I can try and answer for you?
No,
I don't have anything right
Well,
now.
that filled our heads.
Overwhelmed, yeah.
Yeah, just the, waiting on the fix for the foreclosed properties.
Yeah, there will be a next work session, the 26th of June, and I think in July they have one scheduled
They
as
have
well.
them throughout
And,
and they can change.
and so you can,
As it gets closer, they might
I- as that comes up, I can email you the link if you would like to sit in and listen on.
Yeah, I might, and I'm sure they will, but I would most definitely want to make sure that AOC is,
They are.
are they involved in this?
They are involved in it, as well as the Osaka and OACTC, the assessors and tax collectors conferences. So we're a big part of it and having to deal with this. And there are a lot of legal ears in it with Department of Justice and everything too. So they understand the importance of it. So I would assume that the legislature, this will be a hot topic for the 25 session
I know it will be a big topic at our
at conferences.
conference this year. That and partial event, the exemptions.
Yeah.
So as far as the county liquidating anything that's been deeded to us right now is, I know we had put a moratorium or a halt on any sales right now because we didn't potentially know what to do with the proceeds, excess revenues.
Mhm.
We have a couple pieces that really don't have any value to them, and the statute allows for offering them to a neighboring property. If they were obtained through the foreclosure process, would that inhibit us getting rid of them?
That's a question for Dominic.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It might
That's a-
because of
Yes,
what
because-
airs.
Yes,
Sticky
because
notes.
how bad. far
Yeah,
back
no,
we
I
make
mean-
this stuff.
exactly.
Right now.
And whether you're going to have more than one neighbor wanting to bid on it and that kind of thing. So that's definitely a legal question.
Okay,
So,
all righty, thank you.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is economic development update. Greg, are you still on there?
I am. Can you hear and see me?
Yes.
Perfect. I would just, for the record, my name is Greg Smith, Harney County Economic Development. Judge, commissioners, thank you for letting me be here. I just share just kind of as a few thoughts. To the previous conversation I was just listening into, there's two individuals that come to mind for me, a gentleman by the name of Paul Seifert and a lady by the name of Teresa McHugh. They are retired senior executive legislative fiscal office analysts who would be excellent to consider if you were going to have someone come in and just do a financial snapshot for you. They have a very extensive background in federal, state, local, special district resources. And if at any point in time, if I could send you their information, I'd be more than pleased to, but I don't want to get in the way or butt in where I don't need to. They also have a strong background in what statutory and contractual commitments are at the local level. So again, it's Paul Seifert and Teresa McHugh. The other thing I was going to share with you is that foreclosure issue is a very, very real issue. That is currently item of discussion in the House Revenue Committee. And while I'd give no guidance on that, I'd just be very cautious on proceeding forward with any form of foreclosure until there's a statutory language that's been signed by the governor. There's multiple agencies that are engaged in that. Yes, the Department of Justice is involved, Department of Revenue. Yes, you have AOC, League of Oregon Cities, special districts, but you also have the trial attorneys. And so it's a very complex issue. Okay, enough of that.
Well, actually, one
You can-
more thing regarding that I wanted to pick your brain about. With some of those bills that had almost made it through session, that had made it potentially through committee from what she said. How would we as a county best engage in getting that back in motion, and potentially even if there was more than one bill that was out there that was that close to making it to a vote, would there be any way where we could try to leverage packaging those bills to get them through more readily, you know, like, would it be
Yep.
through the lobbyists potentially, like, because it definitely feeds back to economic development. If we aren't getting our tax revenues, if we have these utilities, you know, that affects our economy at a larger scale. And so, you know, I would love to hear some thoughts, you know, when it comes to how we would engage as a county to try to shore up some of that, making it through.
Sure. Commissioner Shellman, what I'd share with you is Representative Rushkey out of Cave Falls and myself. I serve as the ranking member on the committee, and I'd be more than willing to work with you and others to keep you updated on how that process is playing through, and working with Representative Owens, do what we could to make sure that the county is well represented on that issue. It's a really complex issue. Without going too far down a rabbit hole, what the issue is during a foreclosure, the Supreme Court has said a county or a foreclosing body can collect the amount that they're owed, but they must return the remaining amount to the holder of the real estate. And so if a property is worth $100, but they owe the county 10, in the past, the county would sell the property, you know, maybe for $12, recoup its 10 and take a couple extra bucks to cover its expenses in the foreclosure, leaving $88 on the table. Well, the Supreme Court has come back and said, no, that $88 needs to be returned back to the property owner. The question is how do you determine, is it $100? Is it $90? Is it $110? And then you have the trial lawyers are involved in there because obviously they're representing landowners and they want the maximum amount. Counties aren't in the real estate business, so they just want to liquidate and get their cash that's owed to them. And so it becomes very, very, it's a very complicated issue. I think the information shared with you previously is right on the mark. This is an issue that's going to be resolved in 2025. In the short session here in February, there just wasn't enough time. Among all the issues being dealt with, 35, 40 days wasn't enough time to get through it, but there are work groups meeting here in the interim. I'm participating in those work groups. Rep. Reschke's participating in them. And I think you'll see a solution that's beneficial to the counties coming up soon.
And as far as the biomass exemption bill that had potentially made it almost through, is there any familiarity with that one?
Yeah, that's Commissioner Shellman, that's going to be a conversation we're going to need to visit on because that is going to require some shepherding. And if that's something you folks give me direction to work with Rep. Owens on, I can do my best to keep the representative informed and help him work through that issue. But yeah, that is going to require some shepherding to get that taken care of.
Okay. I'm sure Judge Hart in his interactions with the biomass would love to do that.
You bet.
Yeah.
We'll be in touch.
And I do want to be clear, commissioners, that's something I'd need to work very closely with Rep. Owens on.
Yes, definitely. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So gang, I'll just share with you a few things going on here and then offer just a few thoughts. The one that's really at the top of my list right now is the jail and the courthouse improvements, the Lincoln building, et cetera. In the last couple months, we've had an opportunity to really try to get our arms around how to proceed on this issue. And just to be really candid, I still don't have a good handle on it. And let me share with you why. And I'm just gonna be very candid so we can solve a problem rather than sugarcoating the issue here. We have different key constituents on this issue that all have different desires and how to proceed. The reality is we're sitting on approximately $9.5, $8 to $9.5 million, of which $3 million is for courthouse improvements. The remaining money is dollars that have come from several sources, as you all know, for jail improvements. An analysis or study was completed here a few years back that, and I hope I don't offend, but I'm just gonna be candid, was very grandiose in its vision. And in order for us to complete a complete jail reconstruction or to renovation and or to do courthouse improvements based upon that vision, at a minimum, you're looking at about 22 to 24 million. I would guess with inflation and the cost of steel, the cost of labor, not knowing what's behind the walls in the Lincoln building, we should be guessing that we're probably looking at close to $30 million. And just to be very candid with you, I don't know where $30 million is going to come up from, where we're going to come up with that. So what I've been doing is trying to break this down into the simplest component and saying, based upon the revenues we do have and based upon potential revenues we may be able to match, is there a project that could be undertaken for perhaps 10 to 15 million? Thinking that perhaps the money that we do have set aside could be leveraged with perhaps another 5 million. And by the way, gang, I'm using very rough math here. One of the things that I'm trying to get my arms around is what is the highest priority. And thus far, what I've heard is we definitely need to have a new jail. The jail needs to be the priority. And so I've had a conversation with Judge Arashio, asking him what his level of tolerance would be utilizing that $3 million as part of a new jail project, in addition to Department of Justice Administrator Phil Lemon. And they've shared with us that they're open to creativity. They're open to trying to figure out how best to leverage that 3 million. So what I'm really hoping we can do initially is make sure we don't lose the 3 million while we're trying to figure out what the next step is. And so I've directed my team to complete what's called a courthouse intergovernmental agreement. And effectively what that does, gang, is it allows Harney County to just park the 3 million into, and I'm using air quotes here, a savings account, with the understanding that at the end of the day, the Department of Justice and Judge Rasho will need to sign off, but doesn't put us in jeopardy of losing that money. And so, Judge, I'm hoping within the next week, you will have this coming across your desk for your consideration and for you to give to legal counsel for their consideration. And if approved, you could bring before the county commission for approval to just park the money. So that's step number one. Let's not lose what we have. After that, then a hard conversation needs to occur as to what should occur with the Lincoln building. And I've heard conversations from let's look at a central heating air vac system that if we are going to utilize the Lincoln building, let's make sure it's completely usable and available for all the different spaces that are within the building. I've also heard conversations of concern about, do we really have the dollars and resources to maintain the building, to heat and cool it, et cetera. And so those are conversations that I'm hoping to have on the 13th of June. We're struggling a little bit with calendar on that. But I'm hoping on the 12th, 13th, or 14th, we can get a group of folks together and we can sit down and effectively have our sheriff, our county court, the DA, judge, et cetera, spell out really what my goal is going to be. Because right now I'm struggling trying to figure out what is the best direction to proceed forward, knowing, again, and I underline this, we only have so many dollars. We only have so many dollars, and I don't know where the remaining money is going to come from. I do think there's a high likelihood we could leverage what we have. But again, gang, that's not going to get us over 12, 13, 14 million. So that's kind of where we are with this. I have had one-on-one conversations with each of those personnel that I've mentioned to you. I do have a meeting with Kara Master from DEQ to really understand exactly what the brownfield cleanup is going to look like. In particular, what I want to really make sure I understand from Kara is, once we get into the walls, what's the plan if we uncover stuff we didn't anticipate? And I think there's a high likelihood that's going to occur. So, to be very candid with you, what I'm trying to do is figure out how to proceed with an unknown, and to try and balance expectation with a limited amount of money, knowing that the county has to determine how to maintain this facility in the future, and knowing that we have folks who would like to see infrastructure that perhaps we can't afford, and knowing that we have a jail that has to be the highest priority. So a new jail that has to be the highest priority. So that's our update there. I know that's about as clear as mud, but do know I am trying to work through this issue, and if we can get that money parked so we don't lose it, at least then that gives us a foundation of where we are and can proceed to our next step. So I'd push there before I go on with any updates, just to get direction, thoughts, etc. And I know I have not said anything that you don't already know, but I want you to know I'm trying to navigate through this to create a path that the three of you can approve.
Thank you. That's where my conundrum was at when I asked you to step in and start to head this up. So I appreciate your efforts on this.
Yeah.
No, I look
so-
forward
and-
to the meeting coming up. I think really we do have to nail down direction for you. And that meeting could facilitate that so that we can try to align our expectations with what we potentially can achieve. And then knowing more about DEQ's process with Brownsfield, I think will be a key part in that conversation, because I think that, you know, there's skepticism on my part of just what that would take to get that building where you could use it, but then how do we afford to run it, which comes back to our fiscal discussion. And so trying to make sure that we don't overshoot our expectations.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. While I do not know what's behind the walls in that building, I'm of the opinion, based upon experience, whatever cost we're being told, we should prepare for 25% more. You know, we just don't know what occurred in 1951, where someone did something with the intent of fixing it in the future, and you know, next thing you know, someone forgot about it. And when those walls get torn open, the county's going to have to deal with that issue. And so the the more informed I can become on that, and the closer I can become to Kara there at DEQ, the better it's going to be for the county. And so that will be a priority, and I will be reporting back regularly with you on how that plays through. So
I have a question, and it would be for Greg.
Just a second, ma'am. In regards to the Lincoln Building, ma'am?
Yes.
Greg, we have a question real quick, like if we can do it real quick.
Greg, my name is Sue Ramsey, and is there any reason why the Lincoln Building cannot be sealed on the inside, so you do not have to cut into those walls? Minimal cutting in, that those areas can be sealed off too, so you do not have to worry about ripping all the walls out? You can always.
that's an excellent question, and that may be the case in significant portions of the building. At the end of the day, there's going to need to be utility layout improvements, and that'll require cutting in. I think there also need to be energy efficiency improvements that may require cutting in. But I think you raise a very, very valid point, and that is those places that could be sealed off may be something to strongly consider.
Well, the other thing to consider is that you can always stud those walls after you seal them and put your utilities in a new wall. It'll make the walls thicker, but it also keeps you from having to do all this cutting.
No, you're most definitely correct. Again, though, that just costs money. And so if that is the case, it's just additional dollars to do that seal up. But that is an option.
So in essence, that is basically what they call encapsulating. And I believe you'll have to verify this with Kara, but I believe the work that's supposed to be done by DEQ in this brownfields cleanup is just those items that are exposed to public contact. And so therefore, if items can be encapsulated in a wall or with a paint treatment or whatever that might be, then that would encapsulate the hazardous material and make it safe for occupancy. But again, you never know if you have to open a wall, you never know what you're gonna get. And encapsulating with a studded wall outside adds cost. We're back to where we started.
Yeah, and Judge, part of the challenge too is when you're utilizing public resources for projects of this nature, for good or for bad, the state has mandated energy requirements, energy efficiency requirements. And so in order to accept dollar A, you have to meet requirement B, and that just adds additional costs. But anywhere where you could encapsulate and still meet the requirements of those who are funding these type of projects, most definitely that's an option.
The whole project, the vision of the Justice Center, co-located jail and Justice Center, has economic benefits to the community, and is a great vision. But when it comes right down to it, it may not be feasible with the resources that we have. And I think that's probably what we're going to have to make a decision on.
And Judge, part of what I'm trying to do is just be very factual and very candid to say with the resources we do have, what can we accomplish? And then with what may be resources out there, put a risk factor with those resources or a chance of obtaining them, of getting those resources, and then bringing that information forward to you folks for you to look at, to evaluate, and then to give direction. But as of right now, I do not know where 22 million at the bare minimum comes from, but I believe it'll be significantly more than that, where that comes from.
Are you just ballparking it? Are you placing that 22 million for both the jail and the Justice Center, both the full project, or just the Justice Center?
Judge, that's just the Justice Center at this point. Yeah.
Okay.
over in Sherman County, a new justice center was constructed about 4 years ago. And I've been communicating with those folks over there. And their method for getting that constructed was through a bond of the citizens. And while I can't speak in any way for the citizens of Harney County, that's a tough sell. That's a real tough sell, knowing that dollars could go to other uses.
Yeah. All right, thank you, sir. Any, I don't know if you got anything
Yeah.
else you want to update on, but I do have a question if you're not.
Sure, just a couple other things. Gang, I want to let you know that on June 12th is a reauthorization meeting with Business Oregon for your enterprise zone. This is a tool that really we need to really take a hard look at and figure out how to utilize that to provide tax relief for businesses. After the June 12th meeting, if the county court gives me direction to reauthorize, there will be a 21-day posting period for the public. After that, we'd be eligible to submit our application. So I want to let you know we're staying on top of that. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 small business owners that within the last 45 days that we have had direct contact with. While publicly I cannot share those names simply because of confidentiality, commissioners, if you would like to visit with me on any one of them, please do not hesitate to call me, and I'd be more than willing to share with you who we're visiting with, etc. I would hope the public would understand, though, when you're visiting with business owners dealing with financials, credit, business opportunities, that folks expect those things to remain confidential. But commissioners, I would share that with you. Do want to share with you as part of that Justice Center conversation. Last week I had a chance to visit with an elected official from Salem who serves as the co-chair over the Ways and Means Public Safety Subcommittee. And a conversation he's asked to advance is the concept of a DPSST regional training center out in our area. Commissioner Shellman, this is something you and I've visited on in the past. And as soon as I get a little more information and receive his written concept, I'm waiting for his written concept. As soon as I receive that, I'll share that with the commission. There may be an economic development opportunity there. The fairgrounds is slow, but moving forward, I think you folks are taking some action or have taken some action on that will allow us to continue moving forward. And then I would share with you, ever since Ryan's departure, we did have a big hole created in terms of the broadband discussion. I've been joining in on those meetings, trying to get myself up to date, and Commissioner Doro, whatever resource I can play on that, I will. But I have been trying to get myself up to date on that and watching that issue in Salem. And so at this point, in interest of time, I'd let it go. Although we are continuing, we're continuing to run our regular article in the newspaper with the goal of trying to let folks know we're here to assist. We have a dedicated economic development line that is sporadically used, and we're continuing to try and keep social media updated. So thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Do you post on your social media accounts activities or whatever for the Harney County area?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we talked the other day about getting something on our county social media, but if you can tune into that and maybe just share their posts on ours.
Can we follow their
We can,
posts? Because then it would come up on our feed.
yeah,
If we follow.
I don't know exactly what his Facebook page is, but I can try to find
Yeah,
it.
I have
Okay.
liked on mine, so it comes up on my feed, but I also forget to follow it, and then you have to select it as
To
to have it in your feed.
Okay.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Greg, I two things. One, by any chance, have you heard what transpired from the E-Board relating to broadband technical assistance program, additional funding being released or not? Do you know if that even?
Yes. Hold on. Dawson, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Can you help me with this E-Board?
Yeah. Let me let me look it up really quick. I will find that and I will report back in 1 minute.
Thank you, and I'm not even sure if it made it to the cut to be discussed during those 3 days, but I'm trying to find out because it was requested. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is I've been seeing a couple articles that are, more national articles, the kind of stuff I end up reading. And they keep mentioning rural economic enterprise zones as a thing, maybe different than Oregon enterprise zones. And, that relates to enterprise zone that has businesses that support agriculture. And obviously that would be everybody in Harney County who's in business in one way or another.
Yep.
So is that anything you can let us know if you have time to look into it to see if that's another layer of opportunity we should try to become or be part of?
Most definitely. So Commissioner, I'm aware of these. One of the things that the state of Oregon would need to do is have a broader conversation with the feds on this, because Oregon connects to the federal tax code. And so if you would give me a little bit of grace, let me do some homework to see what Oregon's level of interest is going to be in participating in those. As of right now, to the best of my knowledge, we have not connected to it, but let me see where the state is going with that.
And I believe it's USDA related.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
And the reason I can't get the correct answer is because because we're an income tax state and the federal government is income tax, we connect our tax codes. And even though this is a property tax issue, it does have income tax implications. And so I would need to do a little bit of homework.
Thank you very much.
I need to.
And then Commissioner, this is in county court. This is Dawson with Greg Smith's office. Yeah, so that did come in front of the emergency board, and so the emergency board increased federal funds expenditure limitation by 13.8 million. Establishes 8 permanent positions and a 3.5 FTE, and reclassifies 1 existing position to fund administrative needs of the Broadband Equity Access and Development Program, or BEAD. So that did come through, Commissioner.
But what I was asking about was the release of additional funding for BTAP, Broadband Technical Assistance Program, something that they had already made a funding decision on, and that there was supposed to be at least a possibility that they would fund additional applications. But do you know if that was discussed per se?
Let me see. Next item here. Let's see. Emergency board approval retroactively. They were seeking a grant application for that, but that hasn't come through yet.
And does that mean it won't come through, or it's being worked?
It's being worked, Commissioner. So they've submitted an application for $9.9 million.
Thank you very much.
Approval. Yep.
Okay, we need to, I need to interrupt here for a moment. On our schedule, we have a couple of 11 o'clock scheduled public hearings that we need to cut away for. It's kind of in conjunction with county court, but I'm gonna have to cut to those for a second, and then if you can hold on, Greg, did you have anything else though? I mean, if you
no, sorry, just for the record, I do want folks to know that Dawson also serves on my private payroll.
Okay. All right. If you don't have anything else, then I don't have any questions for Greg unless you.
No, I have a regular scheduled meeting with the Fairgrounds Project on him that we'll be doing next week, as well as, I'll give an update on that next scheduled meeting that we need to have as a county court after this, so.
Okay. All right, sir, thank you very much for your update then. And we shall cut away to other agenda item here.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Dawson.
Okay, bye-bye, gang.
All right, so we're running a little over, but we had scheduled 11 o'clock public hearing for conveying mineral rights to the Trout Creek Ranch. I'm going to kind of deviate just a little bit and go to the 11 o'clock AM Roadmaster for some bids for paving. And I'll open these up and then give them to the Roadmaster. He can review them. And while he's reviewing them, then we'll go to the Trout Creek topic. So I have a bid for, says for drilling and shooting. Quality Drilling and Blasting LLC. A bid of, total bid amount of $110,250 for drilling and blasting, mobilization, groundwater related products and explosives. I'll let the Roadmaster review all of this. And a bid from Aggregate Resource Industries Incorporated. Total proposal amount of $197,500. And again, I will hand this off to the Roadmaster. Are you out there? There you are. And our next 11 o'clock topic is the conveying mineral rights to Trout Creek Ranch. So we have gone through the geological survey on the this request. The survey came back with no value, no discernible value of minerals that the county would be interested in. Is there any comment as a public hearing? Is there anybody here that wishes to address or talk, speak to this topic? Okay. Not hearing any.
Is there anyone online?
Is there anybody online?
No, none of those folks are to do with this. Unless there's somebody in the waiting room that it doesn't indicate that there is.
No, don't see anybody.
Oh, don't,
Oops,
don't
wrong one.
hit that button.
Wrong X. All right, so, any conversation from the,
No, we've seen this on our agenda several times, so it's been working through the process, and I think we're comfortable with where we are on it, so.
court order in the matter of conveying mineral rights reserved to Harney County to owner of surface rights. This matter having come before the county court pursuant to ORS 275.316 to address the potential transfer of mineral rights reserved to Harney County to Trout Creek Ranch, owner of the surface rights to the following property in Harney County. Township 3, 9 South, Range 35 East, Section 36, Tax Lot 100. Township 3, 9 South, Range 35 East, Section 23, Tax Lot 100. Township 3, 9 South, range 35 east, section 0, tax lot 200. Township 3, 9 south, range 35 east, section 0, tax lot 701. And tax lot 3, 9 south, range 35 east, section 23, tax lot 101. The court being fully advised in the premises now therefore find that the public hearing to hear objectives to the proposed conveyance was held on June 5th, 2024. The hearing was properly advertised and the court heard no objections to said conveyance, and finds that it is in the best interest of Harney County to transfer such mineral rights to the owner, Trout Creek Ranch, of the surface rights to the above described property. Now therefore, it is ordered that Harney County hereby sets a minimum value for such rights as $750, and that's past processes for this. It ranged depending, but it was roughly $150 per lot. There was no assessed value or determined to have any mineral right value. So just $150 per parcel. Additional, Harney County asks that Trout Creek Farm pay the geologist report of $2,491.25 for a total of $3,241.25. And it is further ordered that upon receipt of such value, the court shall execute and deliver necessary deeds of conveyance. We've already talked with Mr. Hellbush, who's representing Trout Creek Ranch, and he obviously wasn't able to get a check this soon. So we'll have a check for next county court session on June 20th. And at that time, we'll execute the deed. Any other questions or discussion?
No?
All right, so then I will make a motion for county order in the matter of conveying mineral rights reserved to the Harney County, to owner of surface rights. And as read.
I second.
A motion's been made and seconded in the matter of county order and conveying mineral rights reserved to Harney County to the owner and surface rights. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. Okay.
I recommended a county court that we accept the bid for the parent level to Quality Drilling and Blasting LLC.
Okay, do you keep those? Are you gonna hang on to those? Okay. So it's been recommended by the roadmaster that we accept the bid for Quality Drilling and Blasting, from Quality Drilling and Blasting. And then I never remember, do we need to do a motion on that? Do we do a motion on that, Eric? Do we do it when we do the oil bids?
I believe we do.
Okay,
So it's,
so I'll make a motion to accept the bid from Quality Drilling and Blasting. As recommended by the roadmaster.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the bid from Quality Drilling and Blasting. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, sir. He wasn't feeling too well, so he didn't want to come in here and contaminate everybody.
Just by the nurse then.
Yeah, that's fine.
High immune system.
Right.
All right, so that takes us past those two 11 o'clock hearings that we had to look at. Real quick, the next topic up is planning director presenting. He's got a little bit there. Mr. Kemper, how long do you would expect your presentation to be?
1 minute.
Depends on how many questions you have.
So let's move ahead, jump ahead then to Mr. Kemper for predator control. And then that way we can let you go and you can go do what work you need to do.
Okay.
Your program, you can kind of, I think you were in here a while back. I think you shortly had just taken the role and didn't have a lot of perspective at that time. So if you could kind of maybe update us on what you've been seeing and what you've been working with in your program.
Okay. Adam Kemper Wildlife Services, USDA. It's been about a year this week that I started this position. Last time I was in here, I think it was November, December. Since then, government pesticide license, worked with Harney Electric most of spring, doing raven work in substations, transformers, all over this enormous county. Most recently, I'm working with ODFW, transplanting beavers from one location to places that they find. Druzy was the last place on the Wilbur Ranch. Then last summer, I did a lot of the same thing, only it wasn't for ODFW. Now we're working together with this. Still trying to do weekly meetings with ODFW bios for wolf stuff. We recently had another wolf come into the county last week, I believe it was, from Baker County, so keep an eye on that one. Coyotes are just a revolving door in this county, nonstop. I think we're past skunk season.
We are.
Didn't get them. And, I'm working with handful of ranches, all over the county continuously, with whatever they need. And work for the school district doing same thing was last year, removing feral cats, pigeons, whatever.
So we briefly had a phone conversation not too long ago, a week or two ago, and I was inquiring kind of about the billing and the budget side of the program. At that time, you'd mentioned that when you work with OTEC or Harney Electric or ODF&W for those projects, that they're billed for those hours.
Correct.
Does that get billed from USDA?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So they directly go through them.
Okay, and then looking at the cost breakdown for the program, 93,000 is assessed to cost cooperator, which is the county. And then estimated cost share from federal and state sources is 29,000. Where do the funds go that you're billing those hours for, those time for with OTEC and Harney Electric? Do you know? Were you able to find out?
So I sent, I believe, both of you emails on that. And Shane said to call him, he's my supervisor there on Grant. He said he can explain it better than me, because I'm not the money person. I don't get the 93,000, just get the paycheck. Or
Yeah, yeah.
So I really can't answer that. I don't know.
Yeah, that would
Okay.
definitely be a shame.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that we could have Shane, maybe even on our next agenda, just jump on quick and
Absolutely.
clarify that for us.
Yeah.
So then it gets into the room.
Yeah.
I just where those funds are going to and how that's
Sure. I
worked
know
into the
those
program.
Vehicle, fuel, materials, more traps and different things, whatever I need. I think that's a portion of it. And then obviously, people above me, or payroll people, things like that.
Yeah. So like I have a copy of an invoice, monthly invoice for May 31st. Or the due date's May 31st, so it was for May. Total monthly billing of $5,623, and that has personal compensation, travel, supplies, materials, and program support. At our point here at the county, that's all I see.
Right.
That's all I see. I don't know, what you've worked with as far as working with OTEC or Harney Electric or ODF&W. Just, what the program, is returning back to the community, I guess, is what is, in types of animals, type of predators, whatever that you've dealt with.
Well, I mean,
Is there any kind of in your reporting that you do at the end of the day or anything that maybe some kind of a report could be generated from that input that we could?
absolutely. So, I journal everything I do every day, and then every month, weekly, I do this, I update weekly. onto a computer program. Who I've worked for, how many hours, spend an hour driving to French Glen to work for Raccoon or whatever it may be. Yeah, so it's all documented into a computer program, and I'm sure there's a way we can get you to be able to just look at this.
Yeah, that'd probably
And then-
be another Shane question of how it
Yes,
is Shane's the one reviewing those logs.
Yes, so that he goes over it and somebody even higher than him, or to the federal level. But I'm sure or I could just bring my computer in and sit down with you.
Yeah.
once a month and show you.
Well, that'll be, first off, I just asked if you logged it somehow, and if
Yes,
you've
I-
logged it somehow, then it
Everything's
should be
logged, yeah.
retrievable somehow, so I'll ask Shane about that one, if there's some way that we could get a monthly report or something on that,
Absolutely.
so,
That's the way it could.
Yeah.
You should know what I'm doing.
just,
You only see me when I sat here.
so, all right, thank you, that's all I have, if anybody else says.
No, it sounds good, and that would be a good piece. We're just trying to make it easier for the average citizen who says, well, that's in the budget, what are we getting from it? They can just maybe via our website in different ways, or, get some information, but we'd be better informed as well. Not asking because we're doubting that you're doing a great job. We just don't know.
Oh, no, I totally understand. So,
Great.
all right, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. All right, now we'll jump back into the agenda here. Next up is Planning Director presenting. Brandon, is that you?
Yeah.
Planning Director, got a couple of different bullets on here. Outcome of draft hazard anomalies, opportunity for public input and or information session. Local community members, next steps, and department update.
And I would just like to start by thanking you for attending that meeting, because it was not something I could engage in, and this has been something we've been strongly engaging in as a county, so thank you for keeping that going, because this is huge.
Absolutely. The building official took my chair, so I'm just gonna try and project from here.
The camera will focus on you.
I've been told my voice can carry a little bit, so hopefully that helps out. So, I'll give a high level help review on this for the best interest.
And this is a lot of stuff that I asked you for, right?
This is,
This reporting,
so Senate Bill 762, yeah.
Thank you.
So, in quick review, I believe it was the 2021 session, Senate Bill 762 established the need for producing a wildfire risk map, which then had dominoes associated with that, if you want to think about it that way, which incorporated new rules for citing new development, defensible space requirements, in addition to new building code rules for new developments and improvements for, I believe the term is fire hardening. And also had, she moved, I'm taking her spot.
Please.
She's just get over.
I would love to not look through Fred.
She took her coat and everything, so I don't know if she's coming back.
Okay. And then there's a third element too, which I won't touch on too much because I haven't really tracked it, and that has to do with insurance. But those are major impacts to landowners throughout Oregon, and of course, Harney County. And when the first version of that map came to, as the commissioners well know, and a lot of folks in the community well know, it came out with a map that showed the majority of the county at a high risk within a wildland urban interface and fire hazard area that would warrant all these changes being applied to them and their land. And so there wasn't a great amount of information that was put out by the group, the collective state agencies that were putting this effort together, as far as what the short-term and long-term ramifications of those things would be. And of course, how the map was put together. In short, through multiple public meetings across the state, not the least of which happened right here in Harney County, the project was sent back to the drawing board. And at the heart of all of that is this mapping effort, this categorization that needs to happen. And the result of that, and that directive, the result is Senate Bill 80 from the last legislative session in 2023. Just a couple weeks ago, the planning directors for each county, AOCPD, were provided an online high-level presentation for what the changes were to the mapping effort, how they were generally put together, and what the end results would be. I'll touch on this again. We weren't provided the maps, so we're actively looking for that data so that we can.
You were not provided the maps?
No, we were shown the maps
Oh.
across the state, but not individually per county. So we're asking to get that data so we can run it through our GIS program and look to take the next steps to communicate with people. But before we get to there, the formula for calculating what the effort deemed as these high-risk areas was changed at a substantial level. And so high risk now, this high risk area is now broken in 3 categories based on, let me look at my notes real quick. Annual burn probability plus fire intensity or fire length. And the results of which are of that, the hazard values are now, instead of 5 different categories, simply 3: high, moderate, and low. Okay. The other part of that is that WUI, and WUI is an acronym for Wildland Urban Interface for folks in the room. And that a WUI is those structures or other development that intersect with wildland vegetative fuels, if you will. Mostly your urban areas, but other spots that have a high collection of structures and other things. The new calculation for what, just jumping ahead to the end result, the new calculation for which the new building code applications get to, and the siting provisions for your defensible space requirements through the fire marshal's office now apply to only those tax lots that are in high hazard risk and within the WUI. I won't go through all the revisions in how the WUI was changed, but it also had drastic improvements too to how those are put together. The end result goes from a map that showed them a large areas of Harney County.
Any private land.
Yeah, for sure. To basically being areas around Burns and Hines. And maybe something in and around Crane. It is a massive reduction, the majority of the county's out now. And in fact, according to what the presentation was provided to us on, as far as the WUI goes, only just under 4.5% of the state is now considered in the WUI. And overall, the new development that applies to, or the new tax lots that are included in the high hazard and WUI that is required to be in there now results in less than 6% of all tax lots in the state adhering to the new provisions. So this is a massive overhaul in a positive sense. We're drilling down to what really needs to be considered for these things. What are the next steps as far as this stuff goes? From what I've received, the state agencies that are involved in implementing this project, so you're talking Department of Forestry, building codes, OSU,
Fire marshal.
yeah, they are hosting, and the first one, I guess, was Monday. They are hosting 6 open houses in communities throughout the state. They're providing an opportunity, and they're prioritizing Oregonians living in the highest hazard areas to talk with these agency representatives and get questions about the new hazard map, the defensible space, and other things that I've talked about. The first one was June 3rd in Redmond. The other 5 will be in those more highest hazard areas, according to them, which are LeGrand, Central Point, Grants Pass, Klamath Falls, and the Dalles. I can certainly reach out to find out if they have plans for other areas to meet. But I saw that was one of the questions on the agenda was, you know, will there be an opportunity for locals to meet with these folks? I'm not sure that's in the plans from what I've gathered. I could offer a suggestion that the county, once I work with GIS to get that data specific to our tax lots, to get, potentially send out a mailing that has the most appropriate, ways to contact these state agencies and how they can answer those questions if they can't make one of these meetings.
Right.
You know, information online, resources, humans they can talk to.
I would appreciate you asking them if, I mean, for virtual, if it's the cost and the expense of them coming, if they can do a virtual one for us. Or have several virtual ones where they can address us and others if they want to do it that way. I remember when I asked the state on a different matter, when we were clearly left out of, you know, any of the areas they were going to have something for, their initial response was, no, we just don't have no plans for that. But then within a week or two, they said, well, yeah, we're going to try. And then they actually ended up coming here. You know, it was a different matter, but let's ask.
Yeah, for sure. I
That'd
think
be great.
Commissioner, I completely agree. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I'll see if I can throw that request out there.
Thank you.
Well, they came around the state and did a road trip last year on this, where they out at the Memorial Building.
Yeah. It was
I
a
mean-
small attendance, I was there, but
Yeah.
there wasn't, a large attendance from the community.
But since things have changed so much, it would be nice if they did a road trip again, really.
I really think we need to drill down to our own local data, because the reason why we were so impacted was the original measurements within the mapping effort. You know, if those have been adjusted sufficiently, a lot of our complaint was in the fuel loads that they were projecting, and OSU had set them at the highest level possible on our behalf. That was not okay. And so as long as they've made sufficient adjustments to reduce the amount of high, because so much of our fuel load got categorized into that high level, you know, I think that data layer is really going to dictate how much further conversation as a county we need to have on this. And then the other question would be, with those areas left in, with the money that was made available, that was supposed to come down to these folks, and then you have a change in your mapping effort going on, are those dollars still out there and available to do some of the improvements of home hardening and et cetera, defensible space that had originally been put out there, or has that funding came and went since 2021?
And a question I don't have an answer to, but one that certainly needs to be seen.
Yeah, because they, you know, had devoted a, you know, significant portion of funds to try to do that, and then it didn't have follow-up funding due to the pushback, and so yeah, we definitely need that data layer.
Yep, I'll see if I can't get my hands on it.
So is OSU the one that would have to provide that attention?
I know they're in charge of, they're the experts in the room when it comes to the mapping effort,
Right, we
and
met
so it's
those
been that's who we're primarily reaching out to. They, as part of that meeting, they asked the planning directors to coordinate with their respective GIS counterparts to try and collect some additional data that may help them finalize the maps. They're still in draft form. They feel they're in a really good spot, but they want to capture any anomalies that may help them further refine it. I'm not sure, Bryce, Mertz, and I are not sure exactly what those would be for us. And other counties, I guess, are in the same boat. Like, what do you need? We can give you our tax lot information, but, you know, development specific beyond what you can see on the aerial photograph is just not, especially for more rural counties, it's not a level of data that we have available to us or developed. So we're curious how we can interface with them to further refine it.
Well, classification of some of these ag lands was part of our discussion with them originally. You know, a lot of these lands receive treatment, so they don't have the fuel loads they were projecting. And so if that could be, you know, part of the data layer is which classification of ag land and the use associated with it, if we still have any in that high that we don't feel is appropriate, you know, could be something, if, once we have that in hand and can look at it, we could drill down into seeing if that could be something associated with reducing areas.
Absolutely. I think that makes total sense, of course. To build on that or just highlight it quickly, I gathered a very large portion of why, say, Harney County, for instance, as, in addition to other counties, had a massive change in hazard reduction from high to moderate, even low in some circumstances, because they changed the way they looked at irrigated cropland.
Yes.
Which is a no-brainer to many folks in the community, but was a massive reason there was a large shift across the landscape in how these categories happen, so.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate this update.
Thank you. Anything else?
I think maybe, working with Senator Finley on the data layer might be the next step if we still haven't achieved it.
I guess my question was, in asking for our maps, is that a recent ask you did, or has it been a while and they're not really?
Recent.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
I would add, I may have missed it, of course, but if the planning director can't find a link to the map online, then it may not be super easy for folks.
Well, in the draft form, they may not have published it, you know, for a while.
Because I mean, that's the logical next answer is, can I get a link to the map?
Well, I keep thinking back to the Wild and Scenic Rivers stuff that was more of a congressional thing. They did not allow us to see maps. They literally didn't. Not just us, but I mean, even when you flat out ask at a virtual town hall, and you ask the senator, his aide says something that's meaningless and basically means, no, you can't look at it. And it was like.
Well, and that makes, and in this effort, I can see where an argument could be made that the data is not finalized, and so putting something together for folks to consume may not be the most constructive. However, if you're going to these public meetings and showing them paper maps and talking about the ramifications, it's in a place that you can probably share on. So hopefully I can get something like that available to our community members.
Well, thank you. Appreciate your efforts.
Any general department updates?
I'll be quick. Our department is made up of 3 programs: planning, building, and environmental health. There's movement on all 3 of those programs in the positive sense. In planning, we have a number of homes that are going through review right now, which is typical for this time of year. It's the building season, it's just begun. So starting to see some of those things, and then partitions to set those up as well. Not only new homes, but replacement of older stock as well is happening throughout the county jurisdiction. I want to share the good progress or positive outcome on something. Like about a month or so ago, I had an application that was put on my desk for a USDA slaughter facility. This is outside, this is in county jurisdiction. And we're jumping up and down because this means awesome things for Harney County and the whole area. So our charge is to try and make this work as quickly and efficiently as possible so we can get this on. When I was working with the applicant and their contractor, I also brought in Jessie Barnes, who's our environmental health specialist, and a large part of her job is on-site solid waste disposal. The area that they wanted to locate out in the county, and really anywhere, to be honest with you, would have been a really difficult location for the solid waste element of a development like that, an activity like that. And would have been one that could, through DEQ and Department of Agriculture, could have prolonged the project much longer and maybe into the next building season for sure, if we maintain that location. However, with Jessie's work on it. We, in her position, we were trying to work with different representatives, try and find solutions, try to get them through it. Ultimately, what really helped out was providing some alternatives, not only out in the county, but in the cities as well. And Jesse worked with the Biermans, who were the owners of it, to find a location at the old mill site area that is designated industrial land. And it met everything they needed to access infrastructure. Kudos to the city, because they were able to look up how they could get this done. And turnaround on this has been great. We're looking at something that as soon as, and this is me getting some information from our building program too, but as soon as we get those engineered plans in, we'll be able to get moving forward. And we're really stoked about that. And it takes a team effort to pull that off. And so, yeah, that'll be up and moving soon. As far as other things in planning, besides your other run-of-the-mill things, I do have an application for a solar facility that's on my desk now. Looking to work with the developer and the community on the planning commission on review of that over the next couple months. And our building program, in addition to our environmental health program and planning program, have a new member to our team. Her name is Adina Thomas, and she is our permit tech. She's the first person you see when you walk in our building. She's been great. We hired her, 3 weeks ago? Something like that. Learning a lot, coming at her quick, but she's sharp. She's picking it up. She's great with folks. And with the building official in here, it only makes sense to maybe ask him the question on this stuff, but we've made, we have goals for our building program to take next steps. And we've had those for years as the county's invested in this program. And one of the opportunities that has come about by Jesse Barnes' work, working with Grant County in her role as an on-site professional, and our relationship with Grant County has really helped grease the wheels for a potential arrangement with Grant County for our building program as well. So I wouldn't want to take anything away from Rick, who's done all the work on this. But I thought I'd throw that out there as part of the.
Do you, real quick, do you still have your intern?
No, he is done. But I have told him that I'm hoping I can get a PowerPoint put together for county court to talk about his experience working with our department.
Even if he doesn't do a PowerPoint. I mean, that'd be great, but don't let that be the stumbling block. Just verbal is even good.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Well, and just to tag on to the meat processing facility, honestly, seeing something like this come to fruition here makes all those meetings I sat through since 2020 worth it. Biermans were part of the grants to expand meat processing in Oregon, and they were awarded that grant May 22nd in the amount of $697,500 to do some of these improvements to increase their capacity to be USDA certified. And so this is, a great thing in our community, working with the state. I mean, it's taken a lot of stakeholders to get the state engaged in a way to where we could actually help support some of these local meat processors throughout the state in meeting their needs to build that capacity. Because we all saw how tentative it is when you rely on a food system with no local capacity built in this state. And so, the state has stepped up, and this is one area where it's nice to see it actually just continuing with good momentum and actually coming to fruition in places like Harney County. So Biermans are, doing a great job of trying to really step up when there's an opportunity and take advantage of that.
I did a site visit with Jesse out to the site out there, and it's a great site for it. It's perfect there. It's gonna be a brand new building. Yeah.
Yeah, it requires so many requirements on their end that remodeling is a high bar.
Is that the site where I just was driving by there the other day. I seen some Caterpillar work out there where they were cleaning off the spot. It's basically kind of right straight across the street from Arnie Electric.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
That's all I've got.
All right, next topic on the agenda is, building.
Was Rick, were you gonna?
I just wanna make sure you're done.
And I'm done.
Say it again, Mark.
The Kids Club project, we received a request from the city for, to vacate or to rescind the, certificate of occupancy for the Kids Club facility.
Please excuse my PowerPoint skills. I haven't had to use it in a very long time. So I just put a little, there's just a handful of slides here just to show some history of what's been done in the past. This is a two-part project, phase one and phase two. The builder, Rich Brown, is here also. Phase one was a gymnasium, and I have never been in that side of the building, so I don't know what else is in there, but for the most part, it's a gymnasium building. It was built in two different permits at the time. So if you want to go to the next one, Bill. There we go. It says phase one gym parking, the phase one gym project for Kids Center, permit, 3/9/18/186. That was permitted August 26th. Their certificate of occupancy was given on July 14th, 2021. It just an overview of the phase one part of this project and what that building looks like. I'm gonna go ahead and pop to the next one. This is the south side of phase one, in the notes. This is a view of the two egress paths from the south side of the gymnasium exiting to a public way on Adams Street. As per 2014 Oregon Structural Specialty Code 1027.5, access to a public way. The exit discharge shall provide an unobstructed access to a public way. As you can see, the exits do meet all requirements that the building department is tasked with inspecting and approving. Note the approved handrails and guardrails that are on here and our ADA parking spot. So the public way is the road. So if there was a fire or an emergency, everybody can get out of the building to the public way. That's what makes this approved for this egress. If you have any questions as I go along, just stop me, but you can go to the next one. So east side of phase one is a picture of the east side egress showing the additional ADA ramp leading to ADA parking spot. And again, the unobstructed path to the public way, as previously mentioned. Note the double doors for access to the required fire riser room, approved guardrails and handrails. Fire riser room, stairs attaching to the new structure also, with an additional ADA ramp as per code and an ADA parking spot with access to the public way. Go to the next one, please. So this is the phase two build out of the kitchen and the classrooms. This is the part that just got finished that the request has been made on. When I finalized this out, it was permitted January 30th of 2023. I gave occupancy April 24th, 2024. And just a note, I was not here for 95% of this project. So I'm coming at the back end, understanding things that have been done and need to be done. As you can see, we've got the same ADA access, and a main access with stairs coming out to the public way. So when we inspect this for the final, everyone can escape the building in an emergency as per
This is a different code. This is actually 2019 Oregon Structural Specialty Code. This project was built in two different code cycles, so. Go ahead and go to the next one, Bill. So this is just east side of phase 2. Continuance of the clear and unobstructed path to the public way via the main entrance and a handicap ramp and a handicap parking space. Again, guardrails, handrails, all as per 2019 OSSC. Go ahead and go to the next one. And this is just, again, this is a different view. This is the west side view. Another ADA handicap spot down there. You can see it coming off the egress door on the west side, going out to the road on both sides, which is your access to the public way. Now go to the next one, please. So this is the issue that arose after C of O was granted. And I found this last week. They actually opened this facility Monday, 2 days ago. This was dug out to install concrete in here. The weather turned, concrete was not able to be installed, so it put the project off. I didn't know that this had been dug out, so I talked to Rich Brown, who's sitting here today. Talked to him about the issue, told him that this was creating an issue because it is obstructing the path to the public way because there's a saw cut there. It needs to be a clear and unobstructed path. So what Rich did was that day that I brought this to his attention, he went in and filled this with rock, compacted it to restore that public access. So to me, this kept our egress requirements in place. Everything about this building meets state code for egress as part of a final. I guess just recently the fire marshal was called Friday or Saturday about a complaint with this. Apparently he had no issue with it either because this is what it's all about. We want to make sure everybody can get out of the building safely and that there's nothing that's going to cause a problem. And again, this is, I think Monday was the first day of the kids' summer, whatever they have going on there for the summer, daycare.
Operations?
Yes, operations. So, I'm not inclined to pull a C of O on this building because I have no reason to. And I think, that everything there is safe and in the best interest of the community for how the building's being used.
So paving will still happen?
Paving will still happen. Rich can answer those questions. I know that this is scheduled to be redug out on the 20th. Concrete poured. I've asked Rich that if there's gonna be any obstruction to the pathway to the public way, that the building may need to be shut down for the day or whatever it takes to not change the egress of the building in any way. So, and he's agreed to that and understands the reason for it. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Along with that.
Sir, can you state your full name, please?
I'm sorry, my name is Richard Brown. I'm the general contractor of the Kids Club Phase 1 and Phase 2.
Thank you.
Along with that, it seems, and I'm not sure if this is the place for this, if it's not a place, let me know. It seems like the city is going to extraordinary lengths out of their way to try and shut this project down.
Let's just deal with the topic at hand, please.
Okay. As far as concrete goes, Bruce Bartley is the concrete guy. He's obviously tied up on the pool, trying to get that open for the summer. I'm being told at this point, concrete will be poured, should be start being poured or formed up, on the 20th. And, he should be able to form it and pour it in a day, or he forms it one day and pours it the next morning, and then the next day after that would be, it would be able to be walked on. And so we, in the pressure from the city that we're getting to try and hurry up and do this, we tried to get ahead of it so that Bruce was ready, he could get to it any time. And that, we had to fill it back in, so we're, as soon as Bruce tells me he's ready, we'll re-excavate that and do what we need to do to get it forward. As far as the paving goes, we need to finish getting the concrete in place so we know where we're paving to. We have some curbing left to do there. And once again, that needs to be completed before we can pave. And so it's a scheduling, everybody's starting to get busy this year, and winter wouldn't let go again as usual. So we're now that the winter is let go, we can start scheduling stuff again. And
So there, all the remaining work is planned and scheduled to take place. Funds are available for it and everything. Is that?
yes,
And no, and you're all in close communication with the kids club and their need to close down as
Yes.
needed? So,
the only part we should need to close down for is pouring this view right here that you're looking at. The rest we shouldn't need to close down for unless Rick thinks we need to.
And it requires 2 egresses, and technically, they've got 1 and 2, so if they had an extra one, they could probably just block this off, but with this being one of the main egresses, we have to be careful in how they impede that progress to that pathway.
What are their hours of operation? Do you know?
I don't
know either.
If they're, are they
I
closed on weekends
I
or
can-
Mondays
I
or?
believe it's Monday through Friday. And then during the weekends, I believe there's events in the gymnasium and special event type things.
So if you just want to click to the next 2, I just added in, here's the city of Burns approvals for the phase 1 and phase 2. And if you go to the next one, certificate of occupancy, phase 1 and phase 2. So just added those in for information. And that's really all I've got.
Any update, like a couple sentences on how your building program's going?
It's going well. We're growing. We're preparing to take on Grant County. We're in negotiations with them to start doing their work. Want to thank Bill and Holly for getting us a couple of new vehicles to drive, new to us, but in good shape, and we can start. We're not sharing vehicles anymore. We actually have inspectors with their own vehicle, and so everybody can do the work they need to do, so we're growing.
I'm gonna come back to the city here in just a minute, but, so just for a little background, Grant County was in some respects kind of like our program in the past, wherein they contracted with the state to do their inspections. Ultimately, the state keeping 90% of all funds received on that process. With our capabilities now with bringing on Rick and the capabilities that we're working on building on, it was a good neighborly fit for both Harney and Grant County to partner in that process and provide that customer service to both counties.
Just like the Klamath County relationship,
Yes.
it's counties helping counties.
Yeah, and that's been very positive on Klamath County's end too. I'm still in communication with commissioners there and do daily work for Klamath County. Grant County, I went before the board there. They were very happy to do this. So they think it's a great idea. So,
Yeah, I saw your picture in the Blue Mountain.
oh, did you? I've already sent the IGA to them, so they already have it. We're working on it. So, yeah.
Okay, I wanted to step back there just a little bit. So then on the kids club there, I wanted to give the city an opportunity to speak to the topic.
First of all, we're not anxious to close anybody down. We just want the work to be completed as it was supposed to be. I'm sorry, I don't have copies for everyone. If you notice on the certificate of occupancy, it says, special conditions, none specified. But if you look at the planning commission order and conditions of approval, there's 11 conditions that they wanted before the certificate of occupancy was issued. Prior to number 8, prior to certificate of occupancy, applicant shall provide the city with a copy of the elevation certificate for the new building. That one's not really applicable right now because I don't think it's in the flood zone anymore. Number 9, prior to certificate of occupancy, applicant shall install the parking in accordance with the updated site plan specifications. 10, prior to certificate of occupancy, applicant shall have satisfactorily completed any applicable public works permit. 11, prior to installation of a new signage on the site, applicant shall obtain the sign permits. It also addresses in number 6 about the parking and the that they specified some, I'm sorry, having trouble with my voice. They specified a permeable material installation that will limit gravel transport into the street and provide enhanced structural support when compared to compacted gravel alone, a true grid type project, for example. So none of those things were met. There's no true grid, there's no paving, the parking wasn't done. And they went ahead and issued the C of O. We had a meeting with the builder in which he told the city that he believed this kid, he didn't think they had enough money to finish the project. He said that they've made several upgrades inside and that he didn't think they had funds, and that's what got us really concerned. That if they'd used their funding on something else and they could not finish it, and if the certificate of occupancy was issued, then we have no recourse except to start fining the kids club $500 a day for a code violation, which we didn't want to do either. I was hoping that we could get the C of O held until we could address all these issues. Also, in a email that Rich sent to me, it shows that there was supposed to be a drain with a clean out, a manhole cover that went into the swale. And if you go down there and look, they just put in a plastic pipe, goes straight through the concrete sidewalk into the swale with no clean out. Also, the street cut that was done, it was showed in the pictures that he showed you. The street cuts that were done when they put in some of the curbing, they've never paved the road. So we just want we want the project completed. We don't want it to sit like that, half done for who knows how long. And I've gotten various stories about whether they have money, they don't have money. We just wanted the project done. I think we need to work more cooperatively. I realized that he did his building inspection and the building's fine. Building's up to code. Ingress, egress, cool. I don't have a problem with that. We just want the rest of the work done. And for some reason, he thinks if the building's done, he's done. But I think the conditions of approval need to be listed on the C of O and checked off that they were done.
Okay, can I just say?
Can I ask a quick
Yeah, go
question?
ahead.
Did you have exhibit A to this? Was that on file?
No, the only thing that we have. is
Commercial
the
site plan
approval.
variance and
The
floor.
only thing we have is is this approval right here that I put it on. This is the approval sent to us in 2018 and 21, 22, to move forward with plans. This is their planning and zoning form.
Is this document or something similar to this document? Is it usually forwarded on from the planning portion of?
I can't speak to what was done in 2018 because
No, sorry.
none of us heard it.
But usually, yeah, so conditions are given with the ones which then we inform them to take to the county. On mine, usually I will put like conditions, and if I have them written down, if they're not if something I feel like the county needs to look at, I will say see attached and attach it to it. as to what was done in this one, I'm not sure. I feel like it would have, but there would have been more than just that sent, especially if there was conditions of approval. But I can't contest what was actually given to them because no one at the office right now was, other than Mindy, and I'm not sure if she even remembered.
So we're looking at a transition here
Mhm.
from your own, staff changeover to our staff changeover. The contractor is stating that the work should be done by the end of the month,
It'll be started.
started by the end of the
Yeah,
month.
The concrete will be started on the
What
20th.
about the paving?
Paving can't be started until the concrete's done.
And what about the, drain that goes through the sidewalk into the swale without the clean out?
We're working on that.
Right now?
We're working on as well. And as well as I was just informed that I believe the patching of the concrete that you're talking about outside of the curb, I believe that's happening today.
No, I wasn't talking about patching of concrete. I was talking about the street cut that was done, but in the 30, that
Yeah,
it wasn't paved.
that's the patching of the concrete.
Between the curbing and
curb- Between the curb and the street.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that is happening today, but I have not verified that yet.
Okay, so you're sure then that now you're sure that they have the funds to finish the project?
In that Zoom meeting, I said to you that their budget is getting low. I never said that they were out of money. I asked the question of what happens if they run out of money before they can finish. I never once said that they were out of money. But you misunderstood or something to that effect and blew it way out of proportion and started calling everybody, and that's why we're here, I believe.
Well, it was disturbing to me to hear that from you, that they're very low on money, and were you in there for the rest of that conversation?
I was in there for that, yeah, he said like that.
Because I left the room and,
Running low on funding, he wasn't sure, he had to talk to them because we needed to discuss. Kind of the gist I got from it was that he didn't want to start the work if he couldn't be paid for the work, which is understandable. He wasn't specific on saying they absolutely are out of money, but that's how it was perceived from us to some point.
it certainly left that.
Also, in our meeting that we had, the last big one we had with everybody, our biggest thing to try to figure out was kind of what steps we need to follow. And before it was, we would ask them not to issue a building permit until, these, that was the first discussion was on that. So I was under my understanding that we have to pass it on and they can give building permits, but that the C of O is not to be given until the project is complete, which was by, and I'm sorry, I don't forget his name, the state building.
Richard Rosen.
Yeah, was who stated that. And so that was more of our issue, that this one, once the CFO is given, we don't have any other way of trying to make sure that these are done, which is why I'm guessing it's set up that way. Not to say that I don't think that you will do them, that I really do believe that you will get the things done, but back to the way that we need to have the process so that it works, so that we get everything fulfilled that we need in the planning commission or the city council will choose for that project and that you do. Again, all new people, so that's where we're at this issue, but that was our concern, is after the C of O is given, we have no grounds to or backing to make sure that the project was completed to what was requested by the planning commission and the council.
Unless we start finding them, so.
Yeah, and I,
Which is,
and I appreciate that need of the city. I truly do and understand that. From looking at this certificate of occupancy for the phase 2, am I reading this right? That it was issued on, or the final inspection was done on 4/24 of 24? Is that correct?
Yeah.
So that was before our meetings that we had. That's what I'm saying. I think we have a transition communication issue here in between your staff, our staff and whatnot. I hate the idea potentially now that we're into school summertime of pulling their occupancy, certificate of occupancy. Kids and programs and everything have started, with the mitigating element of the gravel that for the time being suits the egress portion of the requirement. And the contractor, I would ask, and basically from what you told me there, from what you know from working with the kids club, there are funds available to finish this project?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I would ask, can we move along and let the project continue?
Yes, we can. I just want, I just want in the future that no CBOs are issued until all of the terms are met, that the city wants also. I mean, I know, he knows buildings, I don't know buildings, but I know planning commissions and what they want.
I just have a question on the sheet. Have you updated this at all?
We have new ones, yes.
Okay, and
We updated our zoning ordinance and at that time changed.
does it now include the special conditions be stated, or at least, because as I read this old form, I don't see anywhere on it that says
Yeah, we would.
that allows that to be seen on this front sheet, that there's a special condition also
I'm
required.
not sure how those ones were used in the past. I'm gonna see if it has it on here. This would have been given with the another,
But I mean, do the new forms have a place that says?
Is this what you're?
so.
Well, where it says
We don't
special
give this one, so
condition.
yes, it has down here, it'll have, because the way that we do it is a 30 signature, it has to be signed off on fire, public works, and planning and zoning. And so down here it has that, and then it'll ask if there's any conditions of approval. We'll
On the
circle-
new form.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay,
We circle them, and then they'll be like notes, and I'll say see attached. If it's,
okay.
I have a minor one like today that had a condition of approval, but it would be fixed Friday, so I just left that one, nothing attached.
Yeah, just as a layman, I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
trying to
No,
see
and
how
I'm
would-
sorry, I didn't bring one of the new
Yeah.
forms.
Well, is this?
Yes, that is our new stuff.
Okay.
So one of the things I'm gonna say, we did have a conversation about this and, Tiffany and I have talked multiple times. We just recently got a project in for the tribes that have plenty of paperwork with it. So this is a project that, phase one, has been going for years with the gravel egress the way it is. Doesn't seem to have a problem. So I didn't see a problem with phase two being the same way. The special conditions that are put out by the city aren't something that go on our CFO. Those are the city's conditions, and we have said that we will work with them, talk with Ty, more than happy to have conversations, but as an example with the Kids Club project, the Public Works Department of the city of Burns should have been far more involved in the timeline of the project and communication of, hey, we expect this stuff to be done, when are the dates? That's not my job to monitor the time frame of those requirements by the city. That's not part of what I do. So the city definitely needs to get more involved in their own part of that utility.
Of
side.
requiring kind of a schedule for some of these.
Yes,
Some of that was.
yeah.
That from the
As
builder.
well, because our public works director
Yes.
changed as well. I mean, we all around changed. So some of that was that, like, when we came into this and some issues started arising, we had to go back into the paperwork and look to see what was going on, what conditions were put onto it, because none of us were part of that.
Mhm.
All we're doing is asking you, would you please check the special conditions and not issue CFOs until you've at least called us and we've talked about it and got together on it? Or are you gonna still continue to issue CFOs
I
without
think,
checking?
just to be perfectly honest with you, I've told you, I've already had the conversation about how we're gonna work together. What I don't like is when it's a demand of this is how it's gonna be. That is not how teams work. That's not how people work together. There's no communication in, this is what you're gonna do.
Well, we're asking for the communication.
No,
We're gonna do we agreed to do.
I communicate a lot. I
pre-conferences,
communicate a
right?
lot. I don't feel like I get it in return, so, we're gonna move forward with exactly what we talked about in the last meeting.
Yeah, see, it's my understanding from the last meeting that we had at the city council, we ironed out processes. And
We'll start on some processes,
yeah, to start on some processes, and I think that at that meeting, you, Tiffany and Rick were both gonna communicate some more and work on that. This was obviously done before that meeting took place, and and communications weren't established, processes weren't established, whatever. This is an anomaly right now because it's not the way that we would probably like to see things on both sides proceed. So that's why I'm asking, is the city okay with what the contractor said is gonna be, the work is gonna continue? If we can go ahead at this point, I don't wanna rescind this.
Well,
Let's see about-
And Richard, you could just update me where you're at on it if you wanna just, and we can email back and forth, kind of like we have been
Okay.
on our other ones and just touch base to see where it's at. So then all areas feel like they're involved on at least making sure that it gets done, because we wanna see it move forward. We definitely wanna.
Well,
And I'm not gonna rescind the suit.
which is fine. I think as long as the contractor provides a schedule to the city to meet these final, special conditions, would be the most productive thing we could do at this point. And then, schedules get adjusted in construction. We all understand that, but then that schedule would at least be set forward and then could be modified upon
touch base.
communication.
I mean, and the biggest setback, it was winter. I mean,
Right.
We can't pour concrete in the winter very well. We can't pave in the winter because they don't even make asphalt in the winter. So it all had to wait till spring. Spring hung on a while. And then Bruce, my concrete guy, took on the pool job and he's tied up until that's done, which, it should be here, I believe, next week, is my understanding. So,
Well, and that's it, as long as you could clearly define within the 10 special conditions what the schedule is on that. And then, that's the most formal, way to have check-ins,
okay.
which doesn't, stop the kids club from being in use, and allows summer programs to continue, but then we do have that formal bit of communication of the schedule.
And then moving forward, we'll work on the things that we talked about, and making sure that everybody is involved and working together right from the beginning. So,
Yes, and
Well, and it's nice now that it's on the front page
Yes,
of that, where the prior ones did not have that.
yeah,
Definitely
some of the
noted.
updates definitely help the board.
I mean, my only request from the city is that they come to me with, this is a problem, we're shutting you down. Not, hey, this is a problem, what's going on with it? And then they start calling the state, they start calling everybody under the sun except for me, saying.
those are,
saying-
We never called the state.
But it just.
yeah, excuse me. Those really are topics outside of
Okay.
this body and this topic. I'm not trying to push you off, but I don't want this to become a soapbox.
Okay.
Okay, and if other entities, the city, contractors, whoever, those are issues that should be worked out between the two of you. And our issue here was the C of O, and I think we've addressed that.
Okay,
So I don't want to get into the mud here.
no worries,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, so then I'm gonna, just to summarize here, we've identified the work's gonna be done as the city wants it to be done. The C of O's in place. Communicate with the city on a schedule of when the work is projected to be completed, so that the city can be ensured that their requirements are met. And we'll continue on. Is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Quick recess.
Yes,
Okay.
okay, we're gonna recess for
Just 5
7 minutes
Yeah, 7.
on the half hour, 12:30.
One quick question, Bill. This bill, that includes the $750.
Yes.
So I'm gonna tear up the other check and just write you this. This covers everything.
Yeah.
Okay, because Brad sent me a text that said that he's expediting the check to me. I just wanted to make sure that, everything was covered in one deal. Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, see you later.
It's gonna depend on the project.
What's that?
It's gonna depend on the project.
But there are probably state standards because
Yes.
it's basically, and it has to do with the safety of the
There-
building. It doesn't
there
have to
really-
do with expectations of a
No,
government, okay.
no.
I just,
There are minimum state standards, and as long as the project meets the minimum state standards, then the certificate of occupancy can be met or can be issued. It's a matter of in a community like what we are in and working collaboratively with other government entities, i.e. the cities, to make sure that everybody's needs are met. Our goal in having the building program in the county is a one-stop shop. You know, the people can come, they're still gonna have to have some interaction with the city. Obviously, they have to go file their initial plan and project, whatever, with the city. Their planning review and zoning review it takes place, and then it transfers to the building department of the county. And they review and issue the building permits and monitor, make sure that the codes, the state codes are met throughout the construction process. Again, the city has other special conditions or whatever, such as sidewalks and septic, water, sewer, that, you know, they wanna make sure that's met for their needs in their system. So
well, that's between them and the committee.
it is, but their point of view is that if we issue the certificate of occupancy before some of those things are met, then their only recourse to come back is to issue a citation, $500 a day. But at the same time, like Rick said, it is incumbent upon them too to be more involved in the process as the project is going on, to make sure that their conditions are being met. So that the two kind of line up at completion time together.
Shoot, I was just curious, you better get some of your 7-minute break in, because
Yep.
you guys got a ways to go. Thanks. so.
Just standing up.
That's why they put on the access codes.
No, that's just a, yeah, that's just the rest of file picture, or whatever.
We have the properties that were. A lot of this has commercial sidewalks.
Yeah.
And yes,
Take the file.
I think I know some of them, but I'm not sure about others. Mine, they're just seeing it at some point, so that we know what actually was included in that.
I know around the top of my head, the Venice Texaco property was, that shop building right across the street. Mr. Tooney had his art studio in there at one time. I don't know if the meter zones or what it's used for now, but it's the building that's on the corner there.
Next week or so.
Bar number here, that shop building there, Venice Texaco here, and the other gas station here.
Hi,
That
Sue.
big
How are you?
building, it has a storefront.
I had some ideas that came to mind while you were doing your discussion. Just to think
The old
about.
Pulliam Chevrolet.
Please do not change Harney County to a
The
hotspot
north
assessment
driveway,
of property to raise people property
concrete
taxes.
slab.
The fixture rotating works very well because it takes into consideration the highs and lows. of our agricultural community. There are a lot of ranchers right now whose hay that normally sold.
Yeah.
Last year.
Make a lot area across from the.
Yeah, okay.
That, I believe that one was the Kearney building.
Operating lines where other people are pulling strings and curves.
So that's good to get that input. I don't know, it's not even on the horizon, but still, it's good to hear it, you know.
That one was
The other thing, like before is the budget, have you ever considered, because I've seen it done inland
And
and
they added that dollar fund, they added.
They have really-
Links for the building.
those rates, well, rates,
And
there's a separate item on the ballot, people can say yea or nay for their budget. Our sheriff's department has been spent on.
I think
They did so. So the county. If people knew how
That was
their
just us.
economy runs, then they have to basically the county was for that pay.
They contract over.
But you're trying to do too much.
So
We'll see.
I'll look and see, I know there's a document that has all the different.
I mean, what he does is.
Projects,
he'll
properties,
employ
properties,
to
it
get
says.
power to the Bonneville Power Station.
But then don't let the giant move.
Because then their power is.
Everybody likes to buy brand new stuff. If it's in the past budget in terms of they are allowed to. But they are cut up their noses.
I know. There's a lot of.
I don't know.
I know we're out.
What's going to happen this year. Or next month.
It's a family.
And 9 acres is the majority. But.
You kind of have to know.
I don't know if they have to get their power
They should have.
replaced to still take advantage
I
of
think
the
that's.
state tax.
What else? In the first half of the year, saying. And USDA. Personnel services, budgets, I mean, support. It's just a virus. They've got. This, right, we're.
Is Matt going to reschedule?
I don't know. We outlasted him. Matt.
Oh,
Cold.
yeah, shoot.
Right. But. So.
I think I've got a number for him.
And they don't.
I totally understand, because
Saying.
Oh, sure.
And then he said.
Don't have sure.
I don't see how we're gonna, it would be too.
So
expensive to refurbish it, because we weren't, well,
What is the
rules and regulations.
Well, I'm sure that's true, but I'm also thinking that there's, everybody wants, seems to want to go the most expensive route, and there are cheaper ways. You can look up strategic plans.
So this
For
has nothing to
government-
do with sports.
government
but
entities.
Chad and I have been working on trying to get the janitors to like do.
Planning. And some of it just need to start out.
Vicky,
First,
we
we
said
need
that
to
there was like coffee spilled and
and
Chad ended up having.
we need to
something done
identify
because
which of our
if
services
they
are
never
mandatory
didn't
and what
have anything.
which are not.
Um,
Now, if any of the ones that
I guess
aren't,
Vicky,
are they profitable or?
they
are
said
they-
that Vicky.
Okay.
And
You're
they
a
said her
category
office was
of
fine,
you want to
did she
retain anyone
have
who's
any
pregnant,
during the-
Right?
So now.
He's
we're asking
but
her
these
to-
other ones, I mean, we have to prioritize and we have to use able to explain.
I think we need to, and
Why
why,
we
since we're in the process of reviewing this contract right now, because they
Uncover
added that
any
other office space.
disagreement and all that on. But I want to have it laid
But I
out,
think
so
we need to add
when he's
um,
running the number.
a provision to it, a
We
checklist.
gotta
Create a checklist for departments.
We got a plan, we got a plan.
Can I
See
see
things
these?
aren't being done, I'm like.
I don't know, first we'll do our own.
Send that
Fred,
back
The
in,
only thing that's keeping.
either through Chad or whatever, should go through Chad and
You
then.
you can come to,
And
and
then-
listen, have our discussions, our discussions are fun.
Tomorrow.
You can
Are they-
listen.
are they
Picking up her-
And
No.
note, you know,
So
let's
let's
just
just
have
talk about-
dates. You know, on the morning of June seventh, came in and the garbage dumped on the door.
No, that, you would have learned a lot if you have time next year.
He
You
doesn't have his
gotta-
email.
And
He
interest.
doesn't have an email signature.
You might want to.
He has one.
So I'll watch in the newspaper for when you're meeting, your budget meetings.
Are you online at home?
I can't be.
I don't know.
You
Yes.
should look at our website. Also,
It's on our calendar.
yeah, you know, I mean, you can wait for the newspaper, but you oughta, we have a Facebook page, we have the website. It's a different format from before, and you know.
All right, I will do that.
You go to the doctor's office, that doctor is.
What is left on your agenda?
That lawyer is nice.
Health and hospice update, Wolf Committee, a resolution, and general deliberations.
Okay, the health and hospitals.
Well, and he may or may not return. He may have burned up his day already.
Is that the gentleman?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We should have structured some of that differently in hindsight. There was just so much.
We have a lot to look
Do
through.
you know if home health and hospice, were they just giving us updates because we want people to give us updates, or did he have an ask?
Bill has asked me to make sure that all of the departments give an update at least once throughout the year,
Yep.
so I have a plan
That's
to
great.
get everybody in here.
Awesome. Yeah, good. Yeah.
Maybe those department updates will be moved to the very top of the agenda before old business. In the future, so that then they can get back to work.
I kind of tried to,
We ended up, having a lot of heavier stuff than I actually even thought it might turn into.
And like, cause like,
At
yeah.
first, I didn't think it'd be a big deal, and then it ended up being lengthy discussions on every topic. Which was great, but I hope Matt enjoyed it.
Especially. You
know what? I think even if you're like, you're waiting for your turn and you've got other things on your mind, you still learn something that helps you in your role.
Once the train stops, it's real.
Do you have Greg Smith's email address?
It's,
Harney County.
I can
No,
send it to you.
Harney County Economic.
My meeting agenda just got changed because we were supposed to, when I first had gone to Burns and talked to them about the Temple subdivision, they were gonna have a zoning meeting tonight. Well, they had the zoning meeting regarding Telos at Queens last night. And so tonight at Burns, instead of, they put Telos off completely, I guess. That's another thing is that there's been a disagreement about it. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna send you an email that just.
All right, we shall re-adjourn for that brief recess. I did make contact with, reconvene.
Sorry.
I did make contact with, Mr. Cole, and they currently have a state audit going on, and he's got patients to see and whatnot, so, we should have probably mixed him in earlier, but anyway, we're gonna reschedule for June 20th, and then that way also he'll have results of the audit, which would be better anyway too.
And Commissioner Shellman we were just having a little conversation with Holly that, when we figure out what order to put things on, sometimes we might even want whole business to be toward the end, if it's more of a conversation with us and stuff, and get some of these other entities
Especially our departments.
on deck right away.
If we can give them a slot at the very, very top, so that they come at 10 and have gone by 10:30.
But it was good, all good stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
just.
I said, I hope Matt enjoyed it.
He's probably thinking his lucky stars, the department he's in, right?
Next topic is, correspondence then.
No, we have.
And a resolution and an amendment. We've got
Wolf Committee.
GHI.
Oh, you don't have the right agenda, Bill.
You don't have all
It's not
that on?
updated. Yeah, mine.
How did you?
However,
I don't have that from old.
I'm sorry.
The one she gave was front and back.
I'll let you.
Yesterday, I guess.
okay, so kids, predator control, Wolf Committee.
Wolf Committee be our next one.
Okay. So Wolf Committee, we had, an email of interest.
If we could cover the resignation first, and then
Okay.
we'll go on to that. We did have two.
This is the resignations.
Okay, there's the resignation.
Yeah, we had a resignation for one of the, geez. I'm losing the verbiage here. Wolf advocates, there we go, geez. He is moving out of town, Mr. Matt Renfro, and so he appreciated being able to serve during that term, but will no longer be able to do so. And then we'd had a vacancy when Kerry Boggs resigned as the local business owner, due to his moving also. And so I'd like to first acknowledge, Matt's service. He was very important in helping us, get through the application process on the Wolf grants, and it was really excellent to have him participate in that. And then as far as a letter of interest coming in, Mr. Rob Frank has a local business here and is interested in serving on that. And so I would like the court to entertain that.
I don't have as Mr. Frank is, commissioner-elect, coming in January. I don't have a problem with him filling that role until then, but
Right.
at that
No,
time,
and you'll have to vacate it again and reopen
Okay.
it, yeah.
as long as that's
Would be
the
there.
understanding, I don't have, yeah.
Yeah, and I communicated with Rob on this, that even due to the grant reporting portion, that he'll then be responsible for as he fills my term. In my position as of January, that reporting as well as the end of the grant cycle would take place after I'm gone. And so it would lead to a good transition in being able to stay up to date and keep everything straight with ODA in that process. And then also we have current grant reporting that's due by July 5th that, he could get up to speed on as well.
It's all good to me. I'm good with it. Entertain a motion appointing, Mr. Frank as,
I move to approve Mr. Rob Frank to the Wolf Committee.
I'll second.
a motion has been made and seconded to appoint Mr. Rob Frank to the Harnett County Wolf Advisory Committee
In the local
Business
district.
owner.
as a local business owner. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed, and hearing none, motion carries.
I do have a question. When you are, at our Wolf Committee, when throughout its processes of the applications and the awards and all that stuff, is it ever a problem if you have a vacancy or two on your committee, or is there a
No,
stop?
it's still a
like where they?
quorum issue. As long as there's a quorum, you can conduct business.
Okay.
That quorum rule still applies to that committee.
Okay.
I like to, really try to have, just because then you have all the minds in the room that you want, serving on that, and then people stay informed of the process, so. There's been times where we've had a few absence, where people can't make it, but generally we've had full committees, present for our meetings. So we've been very fortunate with those that are participating on that, being very engaged when we do have meetings.
Who's your other Wolf advocate that is?
I'm Michael Dolan.
Oh, that's
Okay.
So I did ask Holly to re-advertise that now we could take down the local business portion now that it's filled, but then we need to change the wording to include local wolf advocate as the open position. And then she also put back out the NRAC opening that's still out there.
Did I put in for a small business owner? Cause I meant to be the local wolf advocate.
Did you want to read the?
I
You
did.
put in for business.
Local
huh?
business, local
Oh.
business is fine, because then once,
I have a name
So
I
I
can
can advocate
pursue
for
on.
wolf. Well,
and I think we won't have trouble finding someone that can do so. It just barely came open this week. Yeah, no, it wasn't open until just a couple days ago when we received that. Yeah, as, Mr. Kemper stated, we all acknowledge that there are wolves on the landscape. Which is advocacy at its best.
See, but okay.
Yes, acknowledge that they're here and that there's a wolf plan in the state of Oregon and be familiar with it.
Right. All right, so, Wolf Committee's taken care of. Resolution 2024-19, transfer of contingency to capital outlay in Fund 252. So, as the contracting authority for the county court being the contracting authority, with the fairgrounds expressed interest and need for the purchase of a new tractor. I informed them that the cost range is gonna be, and it's an intermediate procurement. And the process for that is to reach out to get at least 3 bids on, from dealers, tractor manufacturer dealers. You could go to all 3 John Deere dealers or Ford dealers or whatever the case may be, but you need to have at least you need to request at least 3. If you don't receive the 3, then you can proceed with what you got. And we received 2 bids, one from Robbins Equipment, for a total purchase cost of $90,198.75. And then a, quote from Kubota for a comparable tractor, at $93,500. Things to
And just to state that it is tractor and some implement
Yes.
parts to go with the
Yeah,
tractor.
there's,
It's not just the tractor.
in the resolution, I have it identified as a loader, bucket, pallet forks, and the tractor with a loader, bucket, and pallet forks.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure it was clear that there was also attachments.
So some of the things in consideration for selection, servicing, if, it doesn't just have to be the lowest price, but servicing, so if it were, say, a John Deere tractor and there was nowhere to get service work, warranty work done in the local area, and you have to load it up on a truck and haul it to Ontario or something, even if it might be the lowest bid, that
It'd still be
incurs cost,
competitive in the
yeah.
future.
cost and operations both. So some things to think about on selection. I think obviously with both of these, dealers, Kubota and Robbins are both in the Harney County area, so service is not an issue there. It looks like, I don't have a detailed description of the tractors themselves. I'm gonna presume that, the fair manager
Yes,
care of
yes,
that when
they're
she-
comparable tractors.
as far as capabilities and accessories and et cetera. So with that being said, looking at these two bids, I would make a motion that we go with Robbins Equipment for the purchase of,
I have a question.
tractor.
Before
Yes.
you get carried away.
Uh-huh.
There is no reason to buy new. These guys get good trade-ins that basically are relatively new, maybe within a couple of years, and they go through them and basically can give you a limited warranty. But if you don't have a description of what this tractor does, you could be basically shortchanging yourself and paying way too much for it.
There's been a lot of homework done on this purchase.
So why don't they have spears for handling hay? You have to bring hay in it, but
That is, no, pallet forks.
what do you think comes on the pallet?
They'll have sufficient, with the loader, bucket and pallet. We still have the other tractor that no longer transmissions well with attachments as well that can be used that has forks.
So this is the brand new tractor? Has anybody ever heard about?
Well, I'm not gonna
I mean,
entertain
I'm sorry,
a
but
full
you're spending
opinion,
my tax dollars.
which we are, and homework has been done by the fair board on regards.
I don't think, do they really know that much about the tractor? Do they know the horsepower?
They
know
do,
what the PTO
they
power is?
know all those details, yes.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm against just buying new for the sake of buying new. I'm sorry, you're spending money that you don't need to spend, including on the truck that they want, doesn't need to be a new one either. Anybody who has to have. it,
That's outside the topic right now.
Still fairgrounds.
Well, it is, and I would invite you, other members of the public, to come to the county or the fair board meetings and express there as well. But this topic is the purchase of this tractor, a tractor. And based on the bids that we received and the specifications that were provided by the fair manager for the item, the type of tractor and its capabilities, I mean,
That is the business of today.
yeah.
Sure. Go ahead, spend the money.
So, anyway, as I was saying, I make a motion then to accept the, estimate from Robbins Equipment for $90,198.75.
Second,
A motion's been made and seconded, to accept the bid from Robbins Equipment for, a Massey Ferguson 5711 4x4 deluxe cab, 3 sets of remotes, 89 PTO-105, engine horsepower, weights, loader ready, and a Massey Ferguson LF 3819 83-inch Euro HD bucket and 4,200-pound Euro pallet forks. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? And motion carries. So that's accepting the bid itself, for the tractor. Then in order to facilitate that purchase, we need to move funds from the contingency line to the equipment line. And that would be resolution 2024-19 in the matter of expenditure of the contingency within Fairgrounds Operations Fund 252. This being the 5th day of June 2024 and the day set aside for regular meeting of the Harney County Court, and there being present Bill Hart, County Judge, Patty Doro, County Commissioner, and Kristen Shellman, County Commissioner. And whereas the Harney County General Fairground Operations Fund 252 budget for fiscal year 23-24 appropriated funds to be designated as contingency, and whereas the court has determined that the portion of the contingency funds be used to purchase a Massey Ferguson 5711 tractor with a loader bucket and pallet forks, and whereas Oregon Revised Statutes 294.463, Section 1 states transfer of appropriations may be made within a fund when authorized by resolution. Now therefore, be it resolved that $50,000 be transferred within Harney County Fairground Operations Fund contingency to capital outlay with the general ledger lines for information purposes only. Fairgrounds Operations Fund 252, capital outlay building. We're gonna have to amend this one. It needs to see capital outlay equipment. Excuse me. Man, Kleenex, please.
Air conditioning there.
Yeah.
I can even touch it.
Equipment, capital outlay equipment, register line 252-5-0514410 would be an increase of $50,000 with the balance of $3,803,771. $3,803,771. And the contingency line 252-5051891 will see a decrease of 50,000 with a balance of $0, moving entire contingency funds.
Just pre-printed that.
Okay. I used a sample for this, and the
Yeah.
previous one was capital outlay building. This one will be capital outlay equipment.
Was that a motion or you just reading it?
Just reading it.
Mhm. Maybe you want to wait for Holly or should we?
She just printed it, so,
Okay.
entertain a motion for resolution 2024-19.
I move to approve resolution 2024-19 in the matter of expenditure of the contingency within Fairground Operations Fund 252 with an increase of $50,000 to capital outlay equipment and a decrease of $50,000 for contingency.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded in the matter of resolution 2024-19 in the matter of expenditure of contingency within Fairgrounds Operations Fund 252 as read. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. Next topic is, amendment to resolution 2024-02 vacating county road in Fields. So it was discovered that the legal description on our order previously was incorrect. It was, off by one digit, which can mean a lot. So, we're just amending the order with the correct legal description. I believe in the previous one, it was township 28, it should have been 38, is that correct?
It's attached here, but not.
Instead of 2020 before.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
okay.
this was incorrect, and then the other one was.
I wish when you go into the town clerk. But this would
Instead
be
of
blue,
12,
so
or
people would
2012,
realize that.
Oh, the plat number?
It just looks like.
Okay.
It doesn't look like anything
a
you would click on.
So the amended,
These look like a.
I learned it from you at some point.
I know, I think we talked to them about.
the amended court order in vacating streets, in the matter of the vacation of portion of county road located in the town of Fields, as Fields Drive, more particularly described in court resolution 2024-02. This being an amendment to that corrects the legal description from section 24 township 28 to township 38 south. And that's corrected throughout the resolution. And then there was one other error The county partition plat was listed as 1012-0646 and is amended to read plat 2012-0646. Everything else remaining the same.
And the date was updated to the 5th?
Yes, and it bears today's date for amendment.
Well, with that said, I would move to approve court order vacating streets in the matter of vacation of a portion of a county road located in the town of Fields as Fields Drive, more particularly described in Court Resolution 2024-02 as before us and as highlighted portions by the county judge.
I'll second.
A motion has been made and seconded to amend court order vacating streets in the matter of the vacation of a portion of a county road located in the town of Fields as Fields Drive. More particularly described in court order 24-02. Any further discussion? Not hearing any, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. Now the next topic would be correspondence. I didn't have anything. I was looking at the email interest for the Wolf Committee, but other than that, I don't have anything. Unless anybody else has any other correspondence for the record.
No, I don't.
Scheduling. As noted, the next county court session will be on Thursday, June 20th. As Wednesday, June 19th is a holiday.
We will need to schedule a meeting, really as soon as possible to, finalize the contracting for the Fairgrounds project. Today is at the close of business. The timeline will be complete, for
For the public comment,
for the public comment on the awarding of the contract.
intent to award.
There we go. Should have read that before. Intent to award, and so what date would the court be available to meet? And that we can advertise for in the next few days. Legal is currently reviewing the contract. She thinks she'll be able to have it actually by the end of the week, ready for our reviews. Legal, Audrey.
Okay. Well, just so it's,
And just
we're
for the
able to read
record,
it and then we can.
it is a AIA contract that the county is using for contracting purposes.
What does that mean? AI?
So there's AIA and one other type of
Okay,
contract
all right.
that's used for these type of contracting deals, and AIA is the document that we're using.
Is there anything about that document that makes?
It's
I ought to be
just
aware.
very, very thorough in stipulating things. What Audrey is doing in the legal review is making sure all state requirements are met within the document, because it is a general document that you purchase
Oh,
and then fill out, and then she's making sure all of it meets state requirements for the state of Oregon.
I mean, I've got company here, but I can make it in, especially if I can look it over the night before, or the day before.
Well, I think what, once today at close of business is done, and then Audrey has it. Say in the email, she said, I think by the end of the week. Let me double check on what she actually said here. I was kind of thinking by Monday, but
That'd be fine.
it
I
would
could
depend
probably-
on.
I can be flexible.
My Monday afternoon is open. Have a collective bargaining unit negotiation session from 9 to noon on Monday. So after that,
I'm free all day. I mean, I'll just make a point. You know? I did already through my through today. So.
When did you propose? I'm sorry. That was reading me.
whatever's good for 1 or 1:30.
I can make either. You guys pick.
Let's just go with one.
Okay.
And then,
So that is Monday the 10th.
Monday the 10th.
And this
County court special session
Mhm.
to review.
And I'll have Audrey send us kind of a synopsis of what we're to do during that.
Does this have to be, is this just for us to approve and sign, or is it gotta be a public hearing type of?
It doesn't have to be a public hearing. With the design build process, this is just, making sure that the public knows who we're contracting with
Okay.
us. Cause like I say, there has been at this point, no, what you call it? No objections, that have been submitted. Once we posted the intent to award. That allows us to move forward with getting contracts signed and getting with that company and starting to work out the details of the contract that she's proposing as she's reviewing this, that there's some details they're gonna have to provide for her to enter into the contract information. And so it allows us to just continue to proceed with that. But I will get with her with specific language of what she wants us to do in said meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
General deliberation. As we're wrapping up the budget process, I have, some publication work to do. We have to give a summary of and public notice on the budget. As for the record, as you're aware, yesterday, time flies, was it yesterday? Yesterday, the county budget committee approved the proposed budget, and the next step will be adoption on June 20th. And in between then, like I said, I have to do some public notice advertising in the paper.
I was gonna say, my recollection could be faulty, but in my early years on the court, it just seemed like the adoption of the budget, or perhaps it was the approval, but it was in conjunction with sort of a period of public hearing or something. It used to be
I think
different.
you open a hearing and then you can close the hearing and then you can do the deal, is what we've done in the
Yeah,
past.
yeah,
Is
I
that
mean,
kind of what
and I
you're
know that,
recollecting?
I'm not saying that Judge Hart is our budget officer and 100% correct. Maybe we were doing something we didn't need to do before, or maybe something's changed, but I just remember that there was always, there was a formality to it that
we did.
That we
just
did.
Prior in
We
the
did.
same meeting.
Usually
Like say
a
whether it
couple
was
people came, not too many
right,
had
wrong, or
comments. They
different,
just
his question.
wanted to see if other people had comments, probably.
I will review the budget law manual, but I believe the only thing that's required is just a public
Notice that it's going. to be
public notice
adopted.
of a budget summary. And that's it.
That-
There's
I
a
hope- I hope
document.
you're right, I just. thought
There's a
I'd-
document that the state provides. You can use your own format, but it has to have certain same elements in it, but it's called LB1.
Oh, yeah.
And we just forward that to the newspaper for publication.
Was,
And I believe the statute says no less than 5 days and no more than 30 days
did you have to go
before.
with a glitch last year on the LB one?
Yeah,
And how's that going now?
I don't know.
Soon to find out.
HR Finance worked with Tyler last year quite a bit to get that fixed so that it would populate. There was 2 fields that it wouldn't populate. And I'm waiting on one last little piece of information from, adult court
Oh, yeah.
on how they want to appropriate that, and then I can run that report and try and populate that form and see how it goes.
Okay, sounds good.
So that, and then, last night I attended, the Hines City Planning, Commission meeting. It was, there was a proposal for rezoning. If you haven't heard about it, there's a Telos Development Palmer Estates that's, in the planning stages. And they submitted, a proposal or a request to rezone from commercial to residential in that area that's, what is that, east of the Rite Aid store, back in behind there, basically between the old rail bed and the Rite Aid Thriftway store there, and it spans between Burns and Hines. I spoke in favor of it on my behalf, not representation of the county court, and I made sure to note that in my comments, but I think we need, it's economic development. You know, the money that it will bring just in the construction phases itself, but then we're in need of housing in Harney County. And I think it's hard to entice any kind of industry when we don't have homes for people to move here to live in and work here.
And the walk of that is build it, but don't build it all at once and have this inventory of empty homes that the state can fund people here without jobs, without prospect of jobs to come and live.
It's definitely balancing it.
Yes, and that concern was expressed last night, and they're looking at phases. The first phase is about 30 units. This is still probably a year
So
plus out.
where would access, would they have access? I know where this, kind of generally worked from the city of Burns, but from the city of Hines, did it show where that access would it come right through by the Rite Aid stores? Is there like?
Yes, so right,
It's Imperial and Brandt.
yeah, and Hines would have an access though that runs right. I think it's basically, what is that street? I drive it every day. Davis? Where the Dollar Tree is at and the card lock, the Pacific Pride card lock, that street right there. That would run straight across.
Oh, that would be built out into a
Yeah.
formal.
I think it was that one. If it's not that one, then it's a little bit,
Subway.
well, that's in Burns. That's the Burns access. If it's Hines, the access from Hines, it's either there or it's down a little bit further to the south and then would cut
So are
across.
we talking about the prospect of a possibility of a fourth and maybe fifth traffic light?
Yeah,
Just potentially.
Just want to ask that.
Well, that's kind of where I was like, well, if they start on the Hines end. And if it comes in at that traffic light, it'd already be accommodated, but if you start on the Burns end. And had a lot of traffic funneling in, that would be more challenging.
Yeah. So a lot of that is yet, I think, really, they had some maps, some proposed maps and whatnot, but I think as this process goes on and zoning and replatting and everything, that could probably change. The committee or the planning commission held their hearing on it, their public hearing, for and against. Concerns were noted, and they voted to approve the request to rezone. So, we're busy in the county court administration departments. Lots of stuff going on, as always, every day. Now that the budget's over with, I would like to try and get to some of the contracts that we need to renew that are up and or expiring end of June. So,
will some of that be put on the agenda or those contracts?
as we get to them,
Okay.
as we get to them and
So,
are ready
can I-
for review.
In
Yes.
terms of the Telos thing, because the hearing for the rezoning for Burns was supposed to be tonight, and evidently they've taken that off the agenda. And they're gonna be discussing Miller Springs tonight, as far as the zoning is. I haven't
They
heard.
aren't doing both?
The,
Telus is taken off the issue.
yes, Burns is, and I don't know why, I don't know why, but Burns is not, scheduled their planning commission hearing for the Miller Springs Telos development as of yet.
Miller Springs will still be denied, that's what they told me.
Yeah, but the Telos wouldn't,
Yeah.
so,
Stay tuned.
yeah. That's all I have.
I actually am missing a call with ODA right now, but, I got a rundown from, Casey Prentice out of Malheur County with ODA on what the topic would be today, and it comes back to what I brought up in the budget meeting, with the APHIS contracting that the state at this current, time will not be engaging in, due to the lack of funds that are being allocated towards the state's, surveying efforts. It's just one of those things where they were trying to make sure that county partners were made aware that that would not be being signed, which does affect counties of you know, with federal lands, because the state has done all the survey work for APHIS in order to do treatments on federal lands, but they keep cutting the amount of contribution for those surveys, and so I'll find out from Casey.
Is that land surveying? Is it,
Grasshopper surveying,
oh,
yeah, insects and Mormon crickets. And so that's kind of an ongoing discussion, is how to get our federal partners more engaged. The $1 million that were supposed to come to the state of Oregon for treatment was pulled as well, which makes surveying less attractive if you don't have money then at disposal to then follow up with treatment. So there's just kind of some of those bigger picture ongoing conversations with trying to get federal partners to really come to the table. The funding on the BLM side is been very wonky for the state, as has our like horse gathering dollars and everything, where we'll be allocated funds and then they'll get pulled. Now, same thing's going on with treatment of grasshoppers and Mormon crickets. And so these are things, you know, as we work with our federal partners that we've got to keep bringing to the forefront, is how do we make sure that when Oregon is allocated funds, those funds stay with Oregon instead of get pulled somewhere along the way. And then everybody has to pivot and try to figure out what else to do. As far as the allocation of funds that ODA provided to Harney County, Soil and Water Conservation District is still receiving applications on that. There's large blocks of land being treated at this time. There is insufficient funds to cover all acreage that needs treated, but producers are aware of the process and how to make sure to navigate the compensation. And so they're keeping tabs on that as we go along with dollars spent. It's one of those situations with the $425,000 remaining. We're hoping to get another portion of that to add to our funds to stretch them a little further. Harney County has so many acres to treat compared to some other counties, which is why we got prioritized, but it's still insufficient to meet the amount of acres needed to be treated. And so we keep reminding them of that, and we are being heard, and so we will know soon on how they're planning on allocating the additional 425. Other counties are, just as of this week, starting to see major upticks in sightings of grasshoppers. Most of our counties actually been surveyed. They're actually doing surveying in Princeton, I believe, today. They did French Glen yesterday. The south end had already been surveyed. Parts of Crane have been surveyed, as well as Druzy. And so we've had a lot of work with our ODA partners on getting sufficient surveys done in our county to establish economic loss. The big picture with all of this that we're really trying to achieve from the legislature is actual sustainable funding. They would really love to see something more similar to what the state of Idaho does, where they don't necessarily issue a blank check, but it's similar to where all treatment is covered and then the legislature pays for that. And so the state of Idaho actually sees that they're treating less acres over time because they have a sustainable funding model to stay ahead of the problem. and they don't let the problem escalate. And so the treatment's being
Being
applied
proactive instead of
annually,
reactive.
and we as a state have been very reactive with allocation of dollars towards treatment. And so we're trying to encourage moving away from that and getting that sustainable funding in place from the legislature. So that's one of those deals when it comes to the session that we'll need to be engaged in and strongly encouraged, and our story will need to be told again and again of why that is such a need. You know, it's a very, very devastating thing. You know, we talked to producers that last year had loss up to $70,000 in forage that they incurred from grasshoppers. And so
Is
the
that
amount
kind
of
of,
damage they can do is substantial.
is that kind of data captured anywhere? Other than
Well,
having to reach out individually to each producer
Yeah,
or?
it really comes down to individuals knowing how much forage was projected to be utilized and when they had to pull cattle from pastures because the feed ran out due to the loss. And so it's harder to capture, but there's still a very good amount of information out there that is being housed. And the surveys really are the tool to paint a picture. They do have a link where individuals can go online, you can enter your information directly, and then it helps populate their survey maps. We're really trying to train folks to use that tool. You can pull it up on your phone, you can pull it up on your computer at home, you can document where you've seen the grasshoppers, and then it helps paint that picture as we go to the legislature to say, here's how widespread this problem really is, and this is why you need to address it. And so we keep encouraging that, but the surveys will also feed into that map. And so that's why we're very fortunate to have such good survey coverage being accomplished, because it will, for Harney County, really help paint our picture. As well as producers that are participating in this application process, they do have to provide documentation of grasshoppers to an economic devastation level, which doesn't take much beside the picture of having grasshoppers on the properties. So that's part of the documentation with the application process. ODA has meetings going on down at Fairgrounds today and tomorrow. I think they end at around 11 tomorrow, but all day today. And so if anybody has time to go there, I tell them it's terrible that they scheduled it on top of the day when we have county court, but they are in town for one of their quarterly meetings. So I didn't know about it till a couple days ago. Casey Prentice said, "Did you know?" And I said,
No,
I did
feel
not
like
get that email.
I think sometimes we're disrespectful if we don't go to stuff, but sometimes it's just,
Yeah,
we're overscheduled.
I wasn't aware until he shared that with me, but I'm gonna try to stop down in there and visit with some folks in regards to some of these issues. There's quite a few really good topics being covered in their agenda, so you know, encourage anybody that.
And they
has-
didn't
has time.
put an announcement out, did they?
You know, they didn't do a very good job of getting that really worked out there. Like I say, I was surprised when I was told it was here. So. They've met in Ontario before, but I didn't realize they were coming to town. So we would have done a
I
little
know,
help
we
in
would like
getting
to
that
be
information out
friendly
as
to
well.
them.
So that's one of my conversations that I'm gonna bring up is how to make sure if you're coming to our community,
Yeah, it wasn't even.
build that
email.
communication out. So.
Yeah, nothing.
Anything on Division 512?
Division 512, that meeting was last week.
I couldn't make it and I really was
It was a
curious.
lot of discussion about process. Barb, you were online for part of it. Could you hear very well? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I could.
Sometimes you can in that room, sometimes you can. I was kind of
I
curious.
think I could probably hear better online than I could if I was sitting.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, just a lot of conversation around process and future process and how to engage with the community, how to engage with each other as RAC and as OWRD members, understanding what's in rule and what can be negotiated as far as rules that need either adjustment for the process or that don't have any room for adjustment. And so trying to figure out what we want in future RAC meetings to be able to discuss and at what time. They did hear us when we said, you know, you're rushing this process in order to finish this by December and actually have us engage to the level you're asking us to engage. And so they have built out, future meetings into June of 25 to allow for 5 more RAC process, meetings to occur. Especially around, we are looking at trying to do some voluntary agreements. They haven't been done in the state. What can be done with those, what can't be, they don't have that information for us. And so they're wanting us to participate in something that they can't really give us the sideboards to at this point. So they're working on putting sideboards together so that we know when we engage in that conversation, what level of participation you would have to accomplish a voluntary agreement. There's still the question around, is this truly just one reservoir system in order to accomplish the critical groundwater designation? Because it does require it to be a single reservoir in order to designate. And so those are areas of discussion that are ongoing.
It seemed like the meeting went backwards to me. Is it, the topics that they discussed should have been in meeting 1 or 2?
Well, they spent so much time in the initial meetings just talking to the crowd and not giving you time to digest that there was a need to go backwards, in order to go forward.
Well,
So,
they certainly did, I thought.
Oh, Ivan got appointed.
yes, Ivan Gall is now appointed. So, currently Jason Street will be, overseeing the 512 meetings until they designate someone else in the department to do so. That's.
I got a few
major
things,
ones on
just
the
real
mind.
short updates. You may have seen an email, Eastern Oregon Counties Association, because we, as an association, help support the Eastern Oregon Economic Summit. There are 10 tickets, so if any of you are gonna go, that's, of course, June 20th, 21st, we have county court on 20. AOC retreat, I'm not going there physically, but I'm gonna zoom in for some of it. That's 17 and 18 June. Just a question, budget board minutes, should we just approve those by email once people have had time to look them over and get any changes to Holly? We don't really have a meeting scheduled anytime soon to make that happen, but you could probably do it by email if you want.
Yeah, I'll look at the local budget law manual, see if it addresses that, because after you have your last session and you adjourn,
Minutes.
how do you, yeah, so I'll look and see if it addresses that or not.
So on broadband, the COBAT and the broadband contract ends the end of this month. The last few things we're tying up is we're gonna put out a request for interest and shoot that out statewide, just in case there's an ISP out there, a big one who hadn't even thought of us, and they're big enough where they might want to go. Yeah, but I mean, just an attempt to get the word out. Gonna have a roundtable with our partners that would be key to permitting and facilitating permitting, should there be some infrastructure and the projects come in, and that might be ODOT, planning, Kearney Electric, OTEC, road department, any of those folks, and we might end up even doing it by Zoom, but want to have that roundtable conversation and just open that thought process. And then, regarding the Forest Service's, assessment for the forest plan that, had, comment period, I got an email from a Grant County person who said, here's what makes it all worth it. The Forest Service Carol link, and that was, one of the link to submit your stuff online, says they received 1,922 comments. So proud of the people of Eastern Oregon. Now we will see what the Forest Service does with it. So that's good, because I know when I submitted mine, there weren't that many, and I thought, oh, there's only another day or so to go. So a bunch must have come in, but I'm glad to see the interest in it, That's all I had.
Well, and, for future reference, they will try very hard not to set it over a weekend with a holiday when they do comments.
Sure they will.
That was,
Sure they will.
called out to them as bad planning on this middle dates.
I thought it was intentional, but okay, that's good.
Oh, not that. It's Patty.
Anything further for the good of the order, so to speak?
No, they
For
come
the
to
record.
mind.
Not hearing anything, then I shall propose that we adjourn at 1:23 PM. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Visalia, I think it's not Visalia, the guy should learn.
So, would the expectation probably be that you would follow up with the two individuals that Greg recommended today that could also engage with strategic fiscal planning?
Yeah,
That was all.
I'm kind of I have questions because I'm not sure if it's
Pretty creative.
worth talking to them if I don't have a guideline for them for like, yes, we need bids, or yes, we need an RFP by this date.
That could be a question to ask Greg. If we engage with these people, are you aware of what they would need from us specifically? To
Yeah.
see if they